The homestand got off to a booming beginning. 3 homers helped your Rangers win the first game of the home series this year. With 6 wins in their last 8 games, the Rangers are starting to gain some momentum and pick up ground in the West. Tonight, Nick Martinez looks to get back on the winning track when the Rangers and the Kansas City Royals meet next on Fox Sports Southwest. Presented by AT&T Ubers TV. A Globe Live Park tonight with cloudy skies overhead. Kind of a muggy evening, very comfortable temperatures though. The Texas Rangers look to heat things up once again tonight as they host the Kansas City Royals. And welcome in everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you can join us for this Ranger baseball evening here in North Texas. Rangers trying to make it 2 in a row over the defending American League champion Kansas City Royals. Interesting pitching matchup tonight, Tom. You have the former star of the Rangers organization on the mound, now the star of the Rangers pitching against him, Edinson Volquez and Nick Martinez.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting matchup for sure, Buzz. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that Edinson Volquez was a bright young prospect. He was a bright enough prospect that the Rangers were able to trade him for Josh Hamilton. Now he's a veteran and one of the toughest pitchers to hit in the American League. Nick Martinez is a youngster, only 24 years old, trying to establish himself as a frontline veteran pitcher, and he's off to a pretty good start. His ERA is 1.47 so far this year. That's the second best ERA in the American League.
Now, a couple of right-handers that can be extremely tough against the opposition. Should be a great matchup here tonight. Rangers look to make it 3 in a row overall and 2 in a row over these Royals. We will come back with the starting lineups and the first pitch for you right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Now the breeze drifting in from left center field. Rangers taking the field. And before we get things underway, let's check in with Emily Jones. Em?
Well, Buzz, the Rangers 6-0 so far, and Nick Martinez's 6 starts, he says, headed into this one. It is equal parts preparing for the lineup he faces and preparing his game plan.
I don't know if I can put a percentage on it, but I definitely want to pitch my game first, but I definitely take a look at the hitters and do my homework on every lineup before I face them, yeah, definitely.
And Nick got up to that tremendously hot start in April and had a disappointing, according to him, outing the last time in Tampa Bay, going only 4 2/3 and bringing that ERA all the way up to 147. Guys looking to bring it back down tonight.
All right, Emily, thank you. Appreciate it. And Nick Martinez trying to win for the first time in a while. Hasn't been able to get a W. And Tom now will tell you about the Amica Kansas City Royal lineup that he will face.
Well, it's a good one. Alcides Escobar starts it off. He's the shortstop, hitting close to 300. Mike Moustakas bats second. Lorenzo Cain hitting 319 is the third place hitter. Eric Hosmer's at first base. Kendrys Morales is the DH, batting fifth. Alex Gordon in left field will hit sixth, followed by Salvador Perez, the second baseman Omar Infante, and batting ninth the right fielder Gerard Dyson.
And Nick Martinez on the hill, 2-0. He's been 2-0 for the last 3 starts. He has not been able to get a W, but that 147 ERA is good for second in the American League. He needs to return to being aggressive. He said last time out against Tampa Bay, he kind of got away from that a little bit, got away from it in that 5th inning. And he also has a great blueprint from last night to follow. If I know he was watching Colby work, and Colby was masterful handling this red-hot Kansas City team. So we'll see what Nick is able to do tonight. And Alcides Escobar is leading things off for the Royals. And he takes a strike at the knees. Escobar, a .299 hitter. He has 1 home run, 11 driven in. He was the only Royal last night that had a multiple hit game. He had a couple of base knocks. Rangers downing the Royals last night by an 8-2 count. In a lot of ways, one of the better ball games the Rangers have played this year. And at home, I don't think there was any doubt it was the best they played. 0-2 now, the count to Escobar. 71 degrees. Jeff Bannister's team trying to put together another winning streak. Already have a couple under their belt. And they would like to make it one more here tonight as Escobar takes inside. Royals come in at 20-12. They are still leading the American League Central. They have a 1-game advantage over the Detroit Tigers. Back to the screen. Royals a 9-7 road team this year. Meanwhile, the Rangers come in at 14-18. They are in 4th place in a bunched up American League West. They're 6 games behind the Astros, but only 1 game out of 2nd place. Rangers won their 4th ball game in 13 tries at home here last night. Field going out. Chu coming on. Shin-Soo Choo, the right fielder, makes the call and the catch. And we have gotten underway with the fly ball to right field. Now let's take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense. Is presented to you tonight by DeMontron RV. Saw Shin-Soo Choo in right. Delino DeShields gets the start in center with Carlos Peguero in left. Prince Fielder back on the field. He's at first base tonight. Tommy Field at second. Elvis Andrus, the shortstop. Adrian Beltre at third. Robinson Chirinos again behind the plate. And Mike Moustakas, the number 2 hitter for Kansas City, takes strike 1.
Well, Nick said he wanted to be more aggressive, and first 6 pitches, 5 of them have been strikes. Well, he's being aggressive. Just missed the inside corner with that fastball. Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Nick Martinez 1-0 here at home this year. With a rather minuscule ERA, as his ERA virtually everywhere is. Nick a 138 here at Globe Life Park in 2 outings. Last time out had a lead couldn't get out of the fifth inning, and that cost him an opportunity to win a ball game. Moustakas lofts a high pop fly down the left field line. Peguero in foul territory has it for out number 2.
No, that game, Buzz, it looked like through 4 innings, like he had the game well in hand.
Yeah.
And then in the 5th inning, they looked like they got a couple of, of cheap hits against him, and he just couldn't get that last out as hard as he was trying. And it had to be a very frustrating game for him.
Yeah, you could see the wheels grinding, and maybe the American League earned run list leaders. Dallas Keuchel still on top, 139. Then Nick, and Sonny Gray not far behind. King Felix having an outstanding year. First time Felix Hernandez has ever started 6-0 in his career.
Yeah, he's always had great ERAs, and because of lack of support, generally his won-loss record has never been what you would expect it to be. He's had years where he's won 12, 14 games when pitched well enough to win 22 or 23 games. This might be the year it all comes together for him.
Lorenzo Cain with an identical batting mark to Mike Moustakas, the predecessor in the batting order. Cain with 3 home runs. He has driven in 13.
And we were talking about that before the game. Each guy is 37 for 116, batting back-to-back in the lineup. That's pretty good.
Yep. The middle of that Royals order is pretty good all the way through. As a matter of fact, from 1 down through 8, they're pretty good. You've got 300 hitters all the way down to Kendrys Morales, the 5th place hitter. Eric Hosmer waiting to be next. He's a 317 hitter. And then even Salvador Perez at 286. Left center field, Delino DeShields meandering over, makes the grab, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Nick Martinez on 13 pitches. Very efficient for the right-hander. Royals gone in order after half inning, no score. Southwest Airlines Texas Ranger lineup looks like.
Well, you're looking at the leadoff hitter. That's Shin-Soo Choo. Elvis Andrus again is batting second, followed by Prince Fielder, who's playing first base in tonight's ball game. Adrian Beltre is fourth. Kyle Blanks will DH tonight and bat fifth. Carlos Peguero will hit sixth and play left field. Tommy Field moves up to seventh in the lineup, hit a long home run last night. Robinson Chirinos is batting eighth and catching. And in center field will be Delino DeShields. Leonis Martin nursing a little bit of an injury in this game.
And they will be facing the 31-year-old right-hander, Edinson Volquez. And boy, it seems odd to say he's 31. As you mentioned, Tom, it seemed like just yesterday that we saw him break into the big leagues with the Rangers. Still has great stuff, the above-average fastball and one of the best changeups you ever going to see. And he can be dominating if his command allows that. If he's in the strike zone, he has very potent stuff for any lineup to have to work through. Choo to deep right field in the corner. Goodbye. Here's a welcome for Edinson Volquez. First time he has pitched in this ballpark as a visitor. And Shin-Soo Choo rifles his 4th home run of the year. The Rangers lead at 1-0.
The one thing that Shin-Soo is doing right now is he is turning on the fastball. Inside part of the plate, wherever they're throwing it, even if it's right on the inside corner. Last night he ripped a couple of them, and he continues tonight. Nice, smooth, quick swing. That ball comes back and catches the middle of the plate, though. It started out inside, but when he made contact, it was right in the center of the plate. That's where I guess a little bit of that left to right movement can hurt you.
Wow.
He's thinking right now, stay fair, stay fair. And now he's thinking, don't miss any of the bases.
Oh.
I remember when Volquez was with the Rangers early in his career, they called him Little Pedro because of his similarities with Pedro Martinez. He's got a pretty good changeup and almost looks like he tried to emulate Pedro a little bit.
0-2 to Elvis. That's hit hard down the right side, but it will slice back into the seats. Yeah, it's a funny thing. He still talks to Pedro during the winter.
Does he?
They work together, working with young people, and Volquez says, yeah, he's still my mentor, and he gives Pedro a lot of credit for what he's been able to accomplish.
Well, a pretty good guy to have for a mentor, that's for sure.
You got that right. Again, the 0-2 pitch. A line drive, but right at the third baseman, Moustakas.
Well, he's got a pretty good changeup, but that one didn't fool Elvis. He hit it right on the line, right straight to the third baseman.
Not only did he not get the foul ball, he lost most of his nachos.
I'm all right. Just broke my wrist. Nice going. Very nice.
That
better sense, common sense prevailed. Nicely done. All's well that ends well.
Yep. Unless you have that guy's wrist. That's a problem. Prince Fielder hit his 3rd home run of the year last night. And he chops one up the middle. Escobar deep into the outfield grass, throws him out.
Wow,
what a play by Alcides Escobar.
Well, he's regarded as a top-notch defensive player. You can see exactly why right there. Wasn't a hard-hit ball, and that allowed him to make the play, but still, he had to go a long way on the dead run just to catch it. And there's the hard part, turning all the way around, backing up, and still throwing an accurate throw to Hosmer at first base. Beautiful play.
Well, that is out number 2, and now to bring up Adrian Beltre. Rangers out quickly to a start tonight. Shin-Soo Choo with his 4th home run of the year, the Rangers' 4th home run in the last 2 nights. Adrian Beltre had one of those last night. He boomed one out of here to the opposite field. That was career home run number 399 for Adrian. Not a lot of luck against Volquez, as that 182 average will tell you. But the way that Beltre is swinging the bat right now, don't bet against him. 0-2. Adrian, in his last 6 ball games, a 346 average. And go back over the last 20 games, he has raised his batting average better than 100 points. Up to 244 now. And he pokes one to right. Dyson got a great break coming in and makes the catch cap high. Shin-Soo Choo starts off the Ranger first with an exclamation point into the right field seats after 1 at Globe Life Park. Rangers 1, Royals nothing. Well, Nick Martinez back to work now with a 1-0 lead. And Eric Hosmer, a .317 hitter, starting things off middle third of the Kansas City order here in the second inning. Hosmer, team leader with 5 home runs, 25 RBI. And those 25 driven in are tied for 4th in the American League. 2 balls and a strike. Nick Martinez, with his first appearance against Kansas City, he has faced Kendrys Morales, the designated hitter. But he's Kendrys Morales, the only Royal player that has had any at-bats against Nick Martinez. 8-game hitting streak for Hosmer. .324 average over those 8 games. Really coming into his own as far as a run producer this year. A towering drive to right. Chu is pulling up. That ball is in the second deck. A home run, and we are tied at 1 as Eric Hosmer hits his 6th home run of the year, and that is the first home run that Nick Martinez has given up this year.
Yeah, for the most part, when Nick comes inside, he gets it far enough inside to where the left-hand hitter just can't get the good part of the bat on the ball. He's jammed so many hitters so far this year. That was one that didn't get far enough in on Hosmer. And it's a lot like the one that Chu hit. It had some of that left to right movement, and it went from inside to the inside corner, and Hosmer hit it.
Now Kendrys Morales' first ball swinging, skies to left field. Carlos Peguero there to make the catch. That is out number 1. Hosmer, a big, strong guy, and that's up in the upper tank. Out over the Ranger bullpen in deepest right center field. No, 1 out now. A brand new ball game, 1 apiece. Alex Gordon, the left fielder, stands in. And Nick just missing the outside corner for ball 1. Gordon, a .280 hitter. That on base percentage, though, at .410. That's good for 4th in the league. Another guy that really is coming into his own as an all-around player. I mentioned last night talking about his defense. A 4-time Gold Glove winner. Rips this one down the first baseline. A fair ball and into the corner. Chu will play the carom into second. With a stand-up double is Alex Gordon. And Gordon moving up the all-time list for doubles in Kansas City history. That's his 252nd double, and he is good for 7th all-time with that.
Another pitch that came back to the middle of the plate. It had that movement on it, but unfortunately the movement brought it to the middle of the plate, and Gordon put a good swing on it. A couple of years ago, Gordon had a few years ago, had a high of 51 doubles. So he has been a guy that on a pretty regular basis is well over 30, usually around 38 or 40 doubles.
Now Salvador Perez up there and takes the breaking ball for strike 1.
Not much you can do when the ball's hit that hard.
Perez, 4 home runs, 18 RBI. Out in front of that breaking ball from Nick. It is 0-2. Perez, though, mired in an 0-for-10 streak. Still a .286 average, but he has been having some struggles of late. He is 1 for 12, I should say, the first 4 games of this road trip for Kansas City. Royals played in Detroit 3, and now they're here in Texas for 3. Perez good with runners in scoring position. He is a .424 hitter this year. That's 6th in the American League. Got Gordon out there at second base. Slowly chopped to short. Barehanded by Elvis, and he got it. Nice play by Elvis Andrus. On to third goes Gordon. He's there with 2 outs, and before we tell you about Omar Infante. Let's welcome in Jim Knox. Jim?
I appreciate it, Buzz. Hey, we got a great group here at Globe Life Park this evening. It is the Miracle League. That's right. Philip Meyer, tell us about this.
Well, the Miracle League is a baseball league for special need children. We are getting ready to start our inaugural season in September in South Lake, Texas at Bicentennial Park, and we are excited. We can't thank the Ranger Foundation enough for their support, Jim. It's been fantastic.
Now, for people who want to help out, what do they need to do, Philip?
Just go to our website, www.miracleleagueofsouthlake.com. So miracleleagueofsouthlake.com.
All right, good to have you guys out here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
all right, thank you.
I knew I should never did www.
Hey, it sounded good. It sounded good, Philip. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All righty, bud.
Buzz.
Appreciate it.
Omar Infante checking his swing, and that check swing was confirmed by Ted Barrett down there at first base. Infante, a .245 hitter, but he's driven in 13, and he's getting down there in the 8th spot in the Royals order. 1-1 ball game. Gordon, the runner at third with 2 outs. And Nick Martinez able to drop in the breaking ball to make it 2-1. Infante, another guy that has been hitting well with runners in scoring position. His average this year is .346, so better than 100 points higher than his average overall. Chops that off the screen in front of the Royals dugout. And the count evens now, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, Infante is kind of the elder statesman in the lineup. He's 33 years old. The Royals have young developing players who have, I guess, actually gotten beyond the young development stage. Guys like Kane and Moustakas and Hosmer. Obviously Gordon. They're guys that have played long enough and entering the prime years of their career now. And when you look at the performance of the Royals offensively this year, it seems to be pretty apparent that that's happening. They're off to a great start.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it last night, Tom, and Ned Yost would be the first to tell you that, a couple of years ago we really didn't know how to win, but we hit the ball well and did a lot of things well. Well, now they've figured out how to win with all that stuff. And they're putting it together. Ranger fans can identify with that. Several years ago, the same process happened here. Got him swinging. Ricky ball on 3-2. Infante couldn't lay off. Royals come back to tie it. Eric Hosmer's leadoff home run gets the job done. We'll go to the bottom of the second. Rangers 1, Royals 1. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. Kyle Blanks leading things off here in the bottom of the second inning. A 1-1 ball game. Blanks handling the DH chores tonight. He's had a little bit of a downturn offensively at 277. Still 3 home runs, 5 driven in. Ahead in the count now at 2 balls and no strikes. Blanks 1 for 3 in previous matchups against Edinson Volquez, but Kyle just 1 for his last 15 times to the plate. Hard hit, that is through the hole on the left side. A leadoff single. And Kyle Blanks starting the Rangers second off by getting aboard. Carlos Peguero will be next.
Yeah, Kyle's glad to find a hole. He had a couple of balls last night that he just missed. First 2 innings, he had 2 of them. Just missed him to left field with 2 men on base each time. One of them went sky high and came right down at the base of the left field wall. And he almost had a huge day yesterday. He's off to a good start today.
Carlos Peguero did not start in last night's ballgame. Came on defensively in the 9th inning. And he hammers this one to center field. Kane got a good break on it and moved to his left to make the grab. Boy, that was almost looked like a knuckled when he went out there and it died immediately.
Yeah, it looked off the bat like it was hit harder than it ended up.
Well, 1 out and still 1 on. Folks, the Texas Rangers Treasure Chest is the place to go for great deals and great inventory. Get amazing seats that are rarely available behind home plate for the May 29th and 30th games against the Red Sox. Visit TexasRangers.com/treasure test to check out those deals today. Tommy Field, last night 1 for 3 in his Ranger debut. Got his first major league home run. And it was a major league home run, too. It was well into the Royals bullpen out there in left center field. Blanks a small lead at first. And Volquez missing inside the field. 1-1. Tommy joined the ball club yesterday afternoon after getting the call yesterday morning that he was needed in Arlington. Had 28 games under his belt down at Round Rock. Field in those 28 games hit .298 with 5 home runs and drove in 13. So very nice offensive performance. Career at the major league level, .228 hitter. I mentioned that home run last night, his first as a major leaguer. A little bit of time with the Angels and the Rockies. That pitch is a little bit low, and we'll take you back to that home run in last night's ball game.
He put a charge in that ball 410 feet into the bullpen in left center field.
Came off Johan Pino in that ball game last night. 7th inning of that game. 1 of 3 Ranger round trippers. 2-2 pitch. And a full count.
I loved his interview with Emily after the game. He said he spent a lot of time in his backyard pretending he was Pudge Rodriguez when he was a little boy. To come here where Pudge used to play and hit a home run, that'd be a tremendous feeling for him.
And speaking of Pudge, down there enjoying the ball game tonight. A 3-2 to Field. Kyle Blanks the runner at first, 1 out here in the 2nd inning. Volquez with that high set. Blanks on the move. The payoff pitch is chopped towards short. And Escobar trying to barehand it, couldn't come up with it. He felt that was his best shot, and Tommy Field's going to have an infield single.
Well, you know, Buzz, I was going to comment on the one that Elvis made, that it looked like a very easy play when Elvis barehanded it, but that ball was rolling fairly fast, and he grabbed it with his hand and made the play. Escobar tried to do the same thing. This one might have been bouncing a little bit more, but it just goes to show for even a terrific player how difficult it is to barehand and throw that kind of a ground ball. See the concentration. He's trying to catch it with all of his 4 fingers, but he was unable to do it. It's not a simple play.
No, a couple of hits in the inning. Now the Rangers with runners at first and second for Robinson Chirinos. Chirino steps in hitting 177. He has driven in 11. A couple of home runs. A 1-1 game. Robinson trying to untie it, and he takes strike one. Yeah, you know, we get used to seeing Elvis do some things that we kind of take for granted because, first of all, he's very fluid about most of the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
And we just don't realize how really incredible some of that stuff is.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that it's obviously true with Elvis and the guys we get to see every day. And then you see other guys come in, and Escobar wasn't able to make that play, but the play he made against Prince was a pretty spectacular play, too.
Up the middle, could be two. Escobar comes across the bag and fires to first.
I guess he did fire. Almost handcuffed Hosmer.
4-6-3 double play, and the Rangers are gone in the second. No runs, 2 hits, and 1 left. And after 2, Rangers 1, Royals 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. A 1-1 ball game. A moment ago, we had a chance to catch up with the skipper, Jeff Bannister, and ask him how things are going. Jeff, thanks very much for joining us. The ball club playing much better now the last 10 days since the road trip. What have you noticed that has really sparked that change?
Well, you know, our offense really. I mean, you know, these guys are grinding out their at-bats. You know, we're getting the home run, but more than anything else, we're finding a way to win games when we don't hit home runs. Those tough games, those 2-1 ball games.
You know, Skipper, you know that Sin Chu and Adrian Beltre in April are both going to start to hit. But at the same time, it's got to be a pretty good feeling for the manager to watch them get hot and play the way they're capable of playing right now.
No doubt. You know, to see these guys start to heat up, swing the bat, get on base, you know, be the force that we expect them to be. And it's nice to see. They're trending upwards. They're swinging the bat very well, barreling baseball, and, you know, professional at-bats.
And the starting rotation has been able to keep it together. The offense wasn't performing. That didn't deter how well the starters went out and have done their job.
No doubt. You know, our starters, they go out, they pitch to contact, you know, they feed off each other. These guys are doing a marvelous job for us, keeping us in ball games, limited the runs that they give up. You know, and, you know, when we can get them to put the ball on the ground, let our defense work and give us an opportunity to score runs, we're going to win some ball games.
Jeff, thanks very much for taking the time. We sure appreciate it, and keep it going.
No doubt. Thank you.
All right. Jeff Bannister, and we thank him for taking the time to be with us between innings, and you know, it's got to be a pretty good view from his seat over there to see what's going on with the ball club. He's got to like what he's been seeing the last several days.
No doubt about it. You know, I think at the beginning of the year, he's got a pretty good idea of what kind of a team he's got. He's got a great idea of what the track record for his players has been in the past. And so it might be a little frustrating through April to see guys get off to slow starts. But now that they're starting to heat up a little bit, it's got to be a reassuring feeling for him to see exactly what he expected from the start.
Well, Nick Martinez, after striking out Gerard Dyson to start the third inning, plunks Alcides Escobar with a pitch, and Escobar was hit last night also.
You've got a guy that's a fairly wild swinger, not a wild swinger, but he's a free swinger. And last night it looked like Kobe tried to do the same thing. You've got a choice. You want to go with a slider away or a fastball in. And Kobe came in and hit him last night. And it looked like Nick tried to do the same thing and got it too far in again.
Royals and Rangers as a team are running away with that particular statistic, hit by pitch. Royals now with 26 hit batters this year. Rangers with 23. That is by quite a bit the most in baseball. So 1 on, 1 out. Mike Moustakas, who fouled out to left field his first time, takes outside. And the count moves to 1-0. Moustakas, 37 hits already this season. That's tied for the most among American League third basemen, with Josh Donaldson up in Toronto. Good fastball from Martinez, catches the outside corner. 1-1. Highest averages on the road. Moustakas right there at the top. The 4-15 coming into play here tonight. Royals come in at third in runs scored this year. They are at 159 now. But still first in batting average, first or second in on-base percentage. They have found a way to put it together offensively. 2 balls and a strike to Moustakas. Alcides Escobar, the runner at first base. That's out of play down the left side. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Royals as a team this year have stolen 23 bases. They have been caught 10 times. And Gerard Dyson, the top thief. Let's check that. Cologne is the top, or Kane is the top thief. Dyson is second. In the air to center field. Shields into the alley in left center, makes the grab. Alcides Escobar thought about moving up and bluffed the move and went back to first. Well, Lorenzo Cain will be next, and before we tell you about Lorenzo, let's send it over to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Nick Martinez now dealing with Lorenzo Cain, who flied to center field in the first inning. Cain's a .316 hitter as he faces Nick Martinez, and Nick drops in the breaking ball. Cain now in an 0 for 8 stretch. He has always hit well in this ballpark, though. He's a career .370 hitter here at Globe Life Park. 0-1 pitch. Tough play, and going down to first, and he's going to be out. Cain was inside the running lane, immediately signaled by home plate umpire Scott Berry, who was trailing the play. Immediately threw that right hand up, said nope. Once the ball hit him, Cain was outside the running lane, so he is going to be out. And now Ned Yost is going to come out and get an explanation from Scott Berry, but pretty well straightforward. That kind of a play, and Cain will be ruled out. Scott Berry explaining that to Ned Yost, and hey, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way it is. We're going to give you another look at it. see him inside the foul line there. You have to be outside the foul line in that running lane that's demarked by that line from the 45-foot mark down to the bag. So, nothing going for Kansas City. 2.5 in the books. 1-1 the score. For the bottom of the third, Delino DeShields starting things off for the Rangers against Edinson Volquez. And Delino taking outside for ball one. In case you missed it before, Delino DeShields getting the start in center field tonight. Leonis Martin kind of re-aggravated that left wrist problem that he had. He was jammed by a pitch last night and came up a little bit lame. So Delino gets the start tonight. And he takes outside for ball two. DeShields hitting at 206. No home runs. He has driven in 7, but the last 6 ball games, in most of those starts, he has hit 263 with 5 walks and 5 runs driven in. He has been doing an excellent job. He had that 4-game stretch where he filled in for Martin once when Martin came out in the first game of the Houston series with that sprained wrist. And Delino really filled in admirably. 2-1 the count. Now 3-1. Well, Delino trying to lead off the third inning by getting aboard Shin-Soo Choo at the top of the Ranger order, waiting to be next. Rangers have had their leadoff man aboard in each of the first 2 innings. And Delino trying to make it 3 straight. And he does. Draws the walk as Volquez misses high.
But this is an interesting play. It's always been a tough play because as a runner, you literally can't run on the outside part of the foul line and touch the base because the base is all the way on the inside. He's actually running right straight at the bag, but he's ruled to interfere with the ball because he's on the inside of the foul line. But you can see where the base is. If you run on the outside of the foul line, technically as you get to the base, you've got to reach to the left with your foot to touch the base. I've seen youth league teams with a base that extends on the other side of the foul line. So you've actually got a base that you can touch that's in foul territory. You know, and the base has to be where it is so that when a line drive hits it, you know whether it's fair or foul right there, I guess. You can't put it in foul territory. It has to be in fair territory. But it's very difficult for a runner on that kind of a play to stay where he needs to stay so he doesn't interfere with the ball and still be in line to touch the base the way he likes to touch the base.
Yeah, it doesn't fit your eye very well, does it?
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And then you can really only touch the base with your left foot. Generally, you touch the base with whatever foot gets there first. But if you're going on the outside of the bag, you can't go fast down the right field line and touch first base with your right foot. You have to do it with your left foot.
First pitch to Chu is a little bit low for ball one. Chu led the ball game off by landing his 4th home run of the year into the right field seats, right down the line. Chu now with a 12-game hitting streak, thanks to that home run. Now he's tied for the team leadership also with those 4 round trippers. He, Adrian Beltre, Carlos Peguero all have a quartet of home runs. And Volquez now has all of a sudden lost the command of the strike zone. 2 balls, no strikes to Chu.
Delino hasn't had a lot of at-bats. He's getting more recently, but he's had a lot of at-bats where he's watched close pitches, taken them, worked a walk, worked the count. Not a wild swinger for a young guy getting a chance at the big leagues.
Chu, a big rip and a miss. And it's 2-1.
Volquez with good velocity, 92 to 94 miles an hour. Has pretty good movement on his fastball, too. That ball tailed to the right, caught the outside corner.
You're talking about DeShields. He now has 6 walks and 40 plate appearances.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Go back to that bases loaded walk he had on the road trip.
Right.
That was a huge walk.
DeShields bluffed a move and went back. It's now 3-1 as Chu took that pitch down and in. And Delino, one of only 2 players in baseball with that many steals to not have been caught yet. He and Justin Upton both with 7 stolen bases in 7 attempts. 3 balls and a strike. We'll see if Delino takes off now. He's on the move, and the pitch is a strike. The throw not in time. And make that 8 for 8.
And unless Volquez delivers the ball quicker to the plate, I don't think he's going to be able to keep him from stealing today.
Even looking back in to see what was going on.
Yeah. He is quick.
Well, the Rangers now 25 stolen bases. And they are 19 for their last 22. So Houston on top, and then Detroit and the Rangers. Chu grounds it to the right side. That will get DeShields over to third. So Shin-Soo getting the job done with that ground out. DeShields now at third and just 1 out for Elvis Andrus. Elvis lined to third base his first time to the plate. Royals will pull the infield in. Outfield playing fairly shallow also. Even though they have excellent speed out there, if Elvis hits one in a gap, you might be looking at a 3-bagger. Volquez from the stretch. Perez had to really shift his weight out to his right. Pick up that ball in the dirt. Tony Beasley talking to Delino DeShields down there. See the third base coach always, when he has a runner down at third, walk over and tell him something. That way, if the squeeze is on, it won't look out of the ordinary to give him a verbal assist. 2 balls, no strikes. Tony will get the sign, relay it to Elvis at the plate, walk over to Delino and say something to him. Like, you stay right here until he drives the ball. Then you can go. The 2-0 pitch coming. Now 3-0.
Well, Volquez obviously wants to be careful. He wants to keep Elvis from knocking that run in, but he's too careful, and you go from facing Elvis to having to face Clint Fielder.
I think if I had my druthers, it would be throwing a few more strikes to Elvis.
I think that's
that
the way I would lean, too.
Big guy waiting in the on-deck circle is not really the one you want to face in a run-producing situation. And ball 4. He's going to have to face him now with runners at the corners and just one out. Second walk of the inning and the game for Volquez. This Saturday, May 16th, the first 15,000 fans 14 and older get a Texas Rangers camo cap, courtesy of Fanatics. Come on out to Globe Life Park. The Rangers take on the Cleveland Indians and pick up your Ranger camo cap. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. Fielder out on a great play by the shortstop Escobar, his first time. And he shoots one to left for a base hit. In to score to Shields. Elvis headed around to third. He is in with a slide. And Prince Fielder with an opposite field single has put the Rangers on top 2-1.
Take that shift. Yep. Well, the more they shift, the more he's getting base hits going the other way. Well, last year it seemed like he hit a lot of balls into the shift. This year, when they throw it out there, I guess if you're going to shift that way, Buzz, that might not be the pitch you want to throw. Tailing fastball, pretty tough to pull that ball.
Yeah, and it's pretty tough to ask a pitcher that has that as his strong pitch to throw in something else.
Yeah, that's right.
Dave Island out to have a chat with Edinson Volquez very quickly. Rangers, though, playing a little first and third. Prince with his 16th RBI of the year. He is at first. Elvis Andrus motoring around to third. So still just one out, and Adrian Beltre now at the plate. Adrian, a fly ball to right in the first inning. Looking to increase the Ranger lead. And the breaking ball spins him out of the way, but catches the inside corner. Beltre with a 2-run home run last night, got into double figures with 10 RBI now. One ball and one strike. That was the changeup from Volquez, and you can see when he's having that kind of a command problem, that generally is when he has trouble. If he can't throw the changeup for a strike, and then he tries to be a little bit too fine with the fastball and really runs into problems. 1-1. And a check swing. Did he go? No, he did not. 2 balls and a strike. Everybody's saying, check with the first base umpire. Adrian, Perez, home plate umpire. Everybody.
That was close, boy. I didn't think he went quite that far.
Royal infield back a double play depth up the middle. And a chopper foul. Elvis trying to make a play on it. Tony Beasley did make a play on it. Look at Elvis. I got it. Not often you see a runner at third try to do that.
I don't remember the last time I saw that.
Most of the time they're ducking out of the way. No, 2-2 now. Volquez has a check of the runners. Could be a double play ball to Escobar. Infante turns it, and they get Beltre on the back end. So the double play removes the Ranger threat, but Rangers take the lead. They get a run on a hit and leave one. After 3, Rangers 2, Royals 1. Nick Martinez back out to the hill. He will deal with Eric Hosmer, Kendrys Morales, and Alex Gordon. Hosmer drilled a long home run his first time up. Get into the upper deck over the Ranger bullpen. He was 6th of the year. Well, he has now increased his hitting streak to 9 consecutive ball games. 1-0 pitch to him. 2 balls, no strikes. And joining us for the 4th and 5th, as always here at home, Mark McLemore, Doctor of Defense. Mac, last night a good win for the ball club. Looks like there might have been a little carryover tonight. Enthusiasm, the whole deal.
I like it. They're a lively bunch right now. They've been playing, the last 3 series. They played some really good teams. Obviously, Houston with that 10-game win streak and went in there and swept them. Tampa Bay, a second-place ball club. They split with them, and Kansas City, one of the better clubs in the American League. So I like the energy that they've been showing these first couple of games.
Hosmer with a 3-1 count. He is hitting 4th in the order. Kendrys Morales, the DH, will follow. Martinez to the plate and misses outside, ball 4. Didn't look like Nick, after falling behind, really wanted a whole lot to do with Hosmer.
No.
And that's probably not a bad idea.
I think it's smart pitching, to be perfectly honest. I mean, that's a guy who could hurt you. You fall behind.
Yeah.
Do you really want to try and hit that spot when you've already missed once? So it would really be good if he can get Moustakas to hit a double play. Or Morales.
Yeah, Morales will be okay. Morales is the one that's up, so we can.
And he can do it.
Yes, he can. Hits the ball reasonably hard, doesn't run all that well. And Nick Martinez could be a spot where Robinson Chirinos might have seen that same kind of thing that he saw from Nick down in Tampa Bay, where getting a little bit tentative going after the hitters. And that was one thing Nick said, and Robinson Chirinos had mentioned that too, about got to stay aggressive with these guys.
No, but how important is it that catcher's in tune with the pitcher?
Yeah, exactly. That's, you need somebody to help you out. Sometimes you get so focused as a pitcher on the pitch and this and that, you overlook what's obvious to everybody else. And you need a catcher that really can look at you and say, wait a minute. Your head isn't exactly where it needs to be right now. Comes back, gets a pop-up. That's an excellent thing. Peguero is going to take care of that. He come back, make the right pitch, and Morales pops it up. But it's really important for a catcher to be able to do that at the right time. Don't wait 5 or 6 pitches and come out there. It may be too late. Well, Morales pops out. 1 gone now, and here's Alex Gordon. Gordon rifled a double into the right field corner his first time up there. Average at 287. Good tailing fastball for strike 1. Gordon, the guy we were talking about last night that burst onto the major league scene at a very young age as a third baseman. Got the reputation, or got the moniker, I should say, as the next George Brett. And didn't pan out. Had to go back down to the minor leagues, spent a year and a half trying to regroup, made the transition to an outfielder. And now he's come back, and he's a great all-around ball player.
I really hate when they, put that tag on players. Who's been the next George Brett anywhere?
No.
That's just unfair to whatever player they put that on. I mean, There's one George Brett, and that's all there'll ever be. Does he have the potential to be a very good major league player? Yes. But when you put a tag like that, that's just a lot of undue pressure.
Sure. I agree with you 100%.
And if someone does have that kind of talent and does become that kind of player, the last thing he wants to do is be called another George Brett. He wants to be called, I'm my own guy. I'm going to the Hall of Fame as my own guy.
That's right. And in that case, George will be the first one there to congratulate him, too.
Sure.
Pat him on the back. Gordon in a pretty good streak. He's been on base 11 out of the last 18 times that he's gone to the plate. Ahead of the count here, 3-1. Hosmer a lead from first. And Nick able to throw something other than a fastball. Got the swing. It's 3-2.
Now that's impressive. Nick's behind in the count to a good hitter, really good hitter. And he's got enough confidence in his secondary pitches to throw one and throw it for a strike.
And the Fox tracker showing you that number 5 down there. A changeup on 3-1 right at the bottom of the zone. The full count pitch. Strike 3 call. Looked like the fastball covered up that changeup right in the same spot. And Gordon caught window shopping. 2 gone.
Gordon's got a pretty good eye at the plate. He's walked 13 times so far this year. Thought he walked up for the 14th time, but that ball is a strike right at the bottom of the strike zone.
Nick Martinez with his 3rd strikeout of the night. Now with Hosmer at first, there are 2 outs. Salvador Perez up there. And Nick pouring in strike 1. Perez out on a very nice play by Elvis Andrus his first time. A bare hand pickup, and he gunned him down. One ball and 1 strike. Good look from our RF camera that roams around Globe Life Park. Gives you different vantage points. That from right down the left field line. I've seen Salvador Perez swing at that several times in the last 2 nights, and with the same amount of success.
I don't know if that's looking for a particular pitch or just thinking, I can hit that pitch.
I think that's what he thought. Until it started curving away from him.
Again.
Yeah, that time he wouldn't do it.
He could have hit that one if he swung out at the time before it. I don't know what he would have done with it, but it was easier to hit than the one below it.
2-2 now with 2 outs. Nick gets the sign, sets. And Perez hits a drive to center, but Delino DeShields has to go up at the last minute and make the catch. That ball had a little extra giddy up on it, but Delino hauled it in. Leadoff walk, no damage. The Royals strand a runner after 3.5. 2-1 Rangers.
Happened last inning with Prince Fielder at the plate. We've talked about the shift and how a lot of teams put that or apply that shift to Prince Fielder. You see the shortstop just close to second base, still on the shortstop side of the bag, but the shift only works if the pitcher hits his spot. You see the catcher Salvador Perez set up on the outside corner. Now it looks like he's going to put a pickoff on at third base. That's why he set up outside, but the pitch was not executed right. Volquez threw the ball too close to the plate, close enough for Prince to hit it, and hit it the other way in that open hole. So it does not work if the pitcher doesn't hit his spot. And when you have your infield shifted around to the right, that pitcher's got to throw either off-speed stuff or something inside for Prince to hit it into that shift. But if you throw it away, he's going to poke it away just like he did there.
Yeah, especially in a run-producing situation.
Right.
You know, field all run producers are like that. They'll take whatever you give them. How many times we've seen Albert Pujols with a runner at second or a runner at third take the ball to right field when that's vacated over there.
Yeah.
He'll do it every single time if you let him.
You know, those run producers, they expand the strike zone with runners in scoring position. That's why they're run producers.
Sure.
They're not looking for that one pitch on a tee. Now, if you give it to them, they're probably not going to miss it. But they expand the strike zone to try and get that run in wherever they are, whether it's third base or second base.
Volquez gets the strikeout of Kyle Blanks. That's how the fourth inning starts for the Rangers. Carlos Peguero now will come up. Peguero hit a hard line drive to center field, but it was caught out there by Lorenzo Cain his first time up. Peguero a .228 average as he faces Volquez. Rangers a couple of runs on 4 hits tonight. Up the middle, but that's right where Escobar is, and it comes up and goes off his glove. And Peguero is going to be safely aboard. Well, a semi-shift on there, and it was Alcides Escobar exactly in the right spot, but deep.
Ball ate him up. That was a hard hit ball.
That wrist does not feel good right now.
Got a little bit of spin on it, too, it looked like.
And that's going to be an error on Escobar, the first error committed by Kansas City. They came in 6th in the American League. That's their 21st error as a team now. So 1 on, 1 out. Here's Tommy Fields, and look out. Tommy Field taking it high and tight. Field had an infield single back in the second inning. Volquez a check of first. And the off-speed pitch stays inside. 2 balls and no strikes. Field, a 28-year-old, born in Austin, still lives in Texas in the offseason. Mentioned his first career home run last night, deep into the ninth. He was looking for number 2 right there. Tommy Field played his college ball down at Texas State University down in San Marcos. He was the 6th player from Texas State to reach the major leagues. Paul Goldschmidt, the latest there. Peguero to second, and he overslides the bag, but the tag wasn't reapplied by Infante. And Peguero is safely in at second.
Pretty strong throw by the catcher, Perez. Knew he didn't have a whole lot of time, so he just threw it from his knees. Boy, this is going to be a shot. Great call by the umpire. Unbelievable camera shot.
And we may have a challenge coming after looking at that replay. Ned Yost is at the top step of the Kansas City dugout, looking back at. Nope, he's not going to challenge.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he touched him.
No, he brought the tag off there, and nope.
I don't think he got him.
No, Peguero with his second stolen base of the year. He is out there in scoring position now. A 3-ball, 1-strike count to Tommy Field. Ouch.
You know, Peguero, his speed is very deceiving because he's such a large individual. But he can run.
Yeah.
He can flat out run. It doesn't matter if he's a big guy or a small guy. He's got really good speed.
And he is a big guy. No doubt about that.
Very big guy.
3-2 to Field. Figueroa establishing his lead from second. Hard hit Moustakas. The lunge to his left and comes up with it nicely. Throws outfield. That's out number 2.
Now, Tommy hit a ball last night, maybe even a little bit harder than that, right at Moustakas, who turned it into an out. Made a bid for a base hit to left and maybe an RBI. Couldn't get it by Moustakas. Nice swing at that inside pitch. Hit it on the good part of the bat. Hit it hard. There's what happened to it, though. Moustakas pretty solid over there at third.
No, 2 away now. And it'll be up to Robinson Chirinos if the Rangers are going to have a shot at scoring here in the 4th inning. Chirinos grounded into a double play his first time up there. One ball, no strikes. Robinson now at 175 with the average. Had 3 walks in last night's ball game. He's had a walk in 4 straight games. Also in 6 of the last 7. So the average may not indicate that he's having good at bats, but certainly getting on base by the base on ball has helped. Almost picked off Tony Beasley with that shot down the third base line. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tony's saying, yeah. You're not going to get me.
That's a tough job down there, especially with a runner in scoring position.
Yeah.
Watching the Royals third base coach last night's ball game. He's down from where Tony Beasley is. He's probably 20 feet closer to home plate with a right-handed hitter up.
I wouldn't feel too comfortable down there.
Not at all. I'll take my chances on hustling down the line and let it go.
Exactly.
Robinson checking his swing on that breaking ball that hung up. And the count is 2-1. Robinson making his 21st start behind the plate tonight. Rangers have gone 9-11 in his first 20. Leading this one 2-1. Trying to increase that here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Volquez a check of second. Out of play to the right. Note on those walks. Chirinos now with a dozen this year, and that ties him for the team lead. Even Figueroa. Carlos has a dozen also.
Pretty good for not playing every day.
Sure is.
He gets the majority of the time behind the plate, but that's a lot of walks.
The 2-2 from Volquez.
Volquez was a good pickup. They lost James Shields, one of the anchors of their rotation. They signed Volquez. Volquez had a good year last year with Pittsburgh. He's among the leaders in ERA, opponent's batting average. Off to a solid start again this year. He's only given up 26 hits in 37 innings. And he came a lot cheaper than James Shields.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Probably not going to throw 225 innings like James Shields, but last year he came close to 200 innings.
Breaking ball, called strike 3. Robinson kind of frozen at home plate. Had to watch that one go in. And Volquez gets his first 2 strikeouts of the game. Rangers strand a runner. We're going to the 5th, 2-1 Texas. Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by the Mazda 6. J.D. Power has awarded the Mazda 6 highest ranked vehicle appeal among midsize cars. Now, Kansas City coming to bat in the top of the 5th inning. Rangers on top 2-1. Nick Martinez trying to go out after the hitters. Get him in 1-2-3 fashion. His last couple of innings had a little bit of command issue early in the inning. He settled down nicely, allowed a walk last inning and had a hit batter the inning before. But no damage done. The only run of the ball game, Gary Cosmer's leadoff home run in the second. Omar Infante, a strikeout the first time these two faced each other. And the pitch fouled away, and very quickly Nick Martinez with an 0-2 advantage. Infante having a very good road trip for Kansas City. They're going to pop this one into shallow center field, going out, being called off at the last second by Delino DeShields.
I always get nervous watching those, but they generally turn out all right.
He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's calling for it. I think Tommy just kept going. But once you call it, you better keep going, even if you're going to run into that guy. You're calling it, it's your ball.
I think he's thinking, man, I wish he got out of the way a little sooner.
And that'll come with time. The two of them haven't played together. When you're in the infield and you've got those outfielders, you become more comfortable the more you play with them because they know what range you have. I always told my outfielders, said, listen, if I'm coming out, if you're coming in hard, that means I'm coming out hard.
Yeah.
So no, that means I'm in the area.
Delino didn't have anybody around him on that one. He very casually made that catch. That was good. That was good.
Mac, did you generally, as an infielder, go after everything you could get until you heard the outfielder call you off? Is that how you did it?
Absolutely. I love going after everything. Down the right field line, right field, right center field, behind second base. I love going after anything. And if I could get to it, I was going to get to it until somebody called me off.
The hard one for an outfielder is the one you're charging, but you're not positive if you can get it or not. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking, do I yell I've got it and I'm not sure, or do we both keep running with no one knowing exactly what's going to happen?
You can't yell I got it.
You've got to keep going.
Yeah, I keep going. And I would take a look at my outfielder, but I also knew who my outfielders were. So I knew the range they had. The years, Juan was in right field, or I had Jay Buhner out there, even Ichiro. I really had to make an adjustment with Ichiro being in right field because he covered some ground.
Sure.
Down the left field line, Peguero in a hurry, slides, he can't get it, and it's by him. Escobar with great wheels around second. He is going to motor into third, and he is in standing. Well, Peguero, an all-out slide, and the ball eluded, being caught in the air and also being caught on the first bounce. And Escobar, with his first triple of the year, is at third with 2 outs.
It's kind of a tough call for an outfielder right here. He thought he could get it. That's why he went after it. And you've got a decision to make. You've got 2 outs. Do you play back and make sure that you catch it on a hop and keep the guy at first base, or do you go for the catch? He went for the catch and wasn't quite able to get to it. And now you've got a runner at third. Still have 2 outs, but he's in scoring position.
And Mike Moustakas up there. He takes the breaking ball for strike 1. Moustakas, fly ball to center last time up. Also fouled out to Peguero. That was back in the first inning. Martinez working from the stretch with Escobar at third. 1 ball, 1 strike. Moustakas this year a .323 hitter against right-handed pitching. To left field, Peguero got a good break on it. He's going back and has room. That'll do it. No damage done with a triple. The Royals ran their 4th runner of the night. We played half the ball game from Globe Life Park. The Rangers 2 and the Royals 1. Plays earlier in the ball game. Bare hand pickups, one an attempt, one successful. Kind of take a look at it and see and tell us what you think. The first one was Elvis coming in successfully doing it.
Yeah, Elvis is great at this, and what you've really got to do, you've got to get your body to the side and be able to really bend down there and get down where that ball is so you can get a good grip and it actually comes up into your hand underneath and be able to make that play. And now you see Escobar coming in. You see he wasn't quite to the side. That ball was kind of right at his front foot, so he wasn't able to really get down far enough to get a good grip or get a good angle to catch that ball. So you've got to have your body in the right position in order to make that play.
Liner to Shields leading off. He came in to score the go-ahead run in the 3rd inning after walking. Swiping second. Prince Fielder drove him home with a base hit. Now, on that kind of a play, when you're trying to barehand it, does it make any difference whether the ball is bouncing a lot or a little or rolling?
Oh, it definitely makes a difference. If it's rolling, it's a fairly easy play, but if it's got a high bounce, that's an easier play. The one that's got the choppy bounce, that's the tough one. And then if you've got a guy that can run, it makes it even that much tougher. It really does. Yeah. So I like the one where it was just rolling because I had some large mitts, so I could pretty much catch that and just scoop it up like a shovel and go with it. And hand size definitely comes into play with that. Obviously if the ball is able to hit in the palm of your hand and stick, or if you get it in the fingers, it can be a little bit tougher.
Infielders take a number of ground balls in practice every day. How much time would you spend practicing a play like this? Would you do it every day or?
No, not every day. And you see Elvis there caught it with pretty much his palm. And then you see Escobar right there. He was trying to use his fingers, and that makes it very difficult. You've got to get that ball in the palm. But when you practice that, you may do it once, and you don't see a lot of teams do it now. But we used to take infield practice before the game, not during batting practice, but infield.
Right.
And we'd always have one. That'd be the last play coming in. You barehand it and throw it over. But teams don't do that. They don't do infield anymore.
Right.
I love doing infield because it gets you. I mean, it's right before the game, so it gets you ready.
I have so many fans say, "Why don't they take infield anymore?" I think there's a lot of really baseball fans who loved coming early and watching infield practice.
Sure. It was a great time for a lot of guys to show off too, especially guys that weren't going to play that night. So
you've done it both ways. You've taken infield, but you've played at a time where they didn't take infield. What was the reason they stopped taking infield? Was it because they didn't want to come out and have to warm up another time?
I really don't know. It was never really, expressed to me why they stopped doing it.
I'm not sure there's any way with Volquez on the mound that Salvador Perez is going to be able to throw him out.
No, it doesn't matter what he does
field
back there.
No.
Those bases are stolen before he ever had a shot. Boy, he's one of the quicker guys we've ever had.
You know,
Can you remember anyone quicker? Was Otis Nixon quicker than that?
Otis was probably Otis was really quick. But what makes Delino really quick is that he's quick. He's at top speed, probably by step 3.
Yeah.
And there are very few guys that I've seen that can get to top speed that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you can see a guy building up to it, but Delino is just explosive.
Well, that's his 9th stolen base in 9 attempts. And I don't think he can do much better than that. My quick math.
Yeah, you could steal 9 bases in 8 attempts. That would be better.
That's really good.
If you could figure out a way to do that. Maybe you could do that if you stole second and kept right on going to third. You get 2 with only 1 attempt.
Actually, that can happen.
You just keep on running.
Actually, that can happen.
Yeah.
If you've got an overshift on and the third baseman's covering the bag and beat him to third base, and who did I see do it? Someone did it this year.
Now, would that count as 1 attempt? So you get 2 bases for 1 attempt? Because you just didn't. You kept going. You didn't stop.
I think it was 2 bases. I think it was 2 stolen bases. I'll think of it here in a minute. Oh goodness! And this guy. Whew.
That'd be fun to watch.
Jackie Bradley, Boston. Yes, he did it. I think the first or second week of the season.
Did he?
Incredible. Got up at second. Realized there was nobody at third. Gone.
I like to watch the guy scrambling to try to cover third as he's getting outrun to third base.
Shin-Soo Choo trying to drive him home. And how about these current hitting streaks now? Choo with a 12-gamer going. Michael Brantley and Jimmy Paredes with 11-game streaks. Choo kept his going with a home run in the first inning. A bolt right down the right field line that got out of here in no time.
Well, depending what happens in the games tonight, Delino could be. Depending on what happens in the rest of this game, he could be tied for third. He could be tied for third or fourth in stolen bases.
Well, a couple of walks tonight, 2 stolen bases for Delino DeShields.
And both of them lead off walks.
And a similar situation with Choo up there last time when he pulled the ball to the right side and got DeShields over. Elvis then walked, and Prince Fielder brought him home. The Escobar, the shortstop, right behind Delino DeShields. Going to the bag, but Volquez not. The inside move on that particular play is not going to get it done. You can't be quick enough that way. You're doing a daylight play where as soon as you see the shortstop break in behind the runner, you got to spin the other way and be quicker with it. Call strike 3. Choo caught looking. Volquez had worked him in and went away with the last pitch. Shin-Soo could not pull the trigger. 1 out. Elvis Andrews coming up. Let's send it over to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. Thank you, Dana. Volquez getting Delino DeShields scrambling back to second. Elvis has walked and lined to third tonight. 0 for 1 officially and hitting at .221.
See, Volquez is really keeping an eye on DeShields out there at second base. And a lot of times when you have that runner out there at second base that's, bouncing back and forth a little bit and, keeping up some ruckus, it can affect that hitter at the plate. Mm-hmm. So depending on who that hitter is, you've got to find out from that hitter if all that movement, messes with him. And a lot of times it will be that left-hand hitter because they're looking right at him.
Well, DeShields is going to have to stop at third. That ball was close enough that Moustakas was able to dive for it. Didn't come up with it. Elvis had the base hit. But that prevented DeShields from getting a great break and moving on in. But Rangers with runners at first and third, and here we have another setup with Prince Fielder coming up.
Yep, first and third, one out. Base hit to drive in a run last time.
Now we'll see what the Royals do with their infield. Whether they go to shift or whether they're going to go ahead and bring it in. Last time they shifted and Volquez tried to throw a fastball away and puts it right in the hole. This time there's no shift. There's a slight shade around to the right side, just a tendency that way, and that changeup outside. The Escobar in at double play depth and maybe a couple of steps toward the middle. So more of an honest defensive alignment.
Yeah, they made the adjustment after being burned once. It looks like they're still going to try and stay away from Prince.
Well, I don't know what option you have with Fielder when he's swinging the bat well. You can't really stay inside on him all the time. First of all, when he's swinging the bat well, he won't swing at that pitch. And secondly, if you make a little tiny mistake, you're not going to get the ball back.
Yeah, you know, when most guys are going good, especially the big hitters, you're really hoping they get themselves out just by being a little too aggressive.
Right.
And it's tough to pitch those guys when they're that hot.
1-1. That ball is hit high in the air to center. It's going to stay in the ballpark, but plenty deep to bring Delino in. Catch is made. DeShields tags. He will score. And Prince Fielder with his second RBI of the night. And the Rangers have opened up a 3-1 lead.
Pretty good pitch if you want to hit a fly ball. Breaking ball up. Doesn't really matter how far outside it is. He's going to reach it unless it's about 8 inches outside. And the way it stayed up, that was a fly ball waiting to happen right there.
You know, and Prince probably doesn't swing at that pitch if there's not a runner on third base.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But that's that run producer mentality. It's close enough, it's high, I'm looking for something up. I can at least hit a sacrifice fly and drive him in. And if not, I may even hit it out of the ballpark. But that's just that pitch. It's not a great pitch for him, but a great pitch to get the job done.
Yeah. Fielder now with 17 runs driven in this year. Snap throw down to first, and Elvis just able to get back.
And Delino just keeps doing something every time he gets a chance to play to help the ball club. Tonight it's been 2 leadoff walks, and he's scored a couple of runs in the ball game.
You know, that speed element is something you just can't teach, and it's so valuable. I think, you know, you don't see as many guys that are that fast in the game anymore.
Right.
I mean, there are some guys that can just flat out run. The Royals have one. Dyson can.
Yep.
He can flat out fly. Kane is a fast runner. Gordon's a fast runner. So there are some guys that can steal bases, but that's just a part of the game that you can't teach.
And you really can't defend it if it's used the right way. I mean, there's not much you can do when you get a guy like DeShields on base. You can have good pickoff moves and all that, but when he gets the right read and the right break, you can't throw him out.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing you can have is you better have a pretty good slide step where you can get rid of the ball without taking too much time. Volquez doesn't appear to be able to do that. Otherwise, I think he would have tried it.
You know, even with the slide step, I actually like guys that do the slide step when you've got a base runner on there, because it's taking them out of something that they don't typically do. Yeah. And most pitchers aren't good at doing the slide step because they don't do it very often. They only do it when there's a fast guy on there.
So, yeah, maybe you keep the runner at first and serve up a ball that's drilled in the gap.
Absolutely.
Delino also, the thing that's been impressive about him is he's a kid that played Double-A last year and really had a mediocre Double-A season, but his ability to eyeball pitches and not swing at pitches consistently out of the strike zone has been a pretty strong thing for him so far this year. 7 walks.
And you like to see that relationship that he and Prince Fielder developed too, where you always see them talking to each other on the bench. Beltre to center field, but Kane got a good break going back. Makes the grab. That'll do it. Rangers get another run though. They expand their lead. We finish 5. It's 3-1 Texas. Back, thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the ball game on Rangers High.
All right, fellas.
3-1 lead. Let's take a look at our Kubota power stats tonight. How about Nick Martinez? 5 innings of work, just 3 hits. The 1 run coming on the home run by Hosmer. 0 for 3 are the Royals with runners in scoring position. And that's an area where they have excelled, but not tonight. Leading off the 6th inning, Lorenzo Cain got a pitch up and shot it off the wall down the left field line for a leadoff double. So Cain now 1 for 3, and he is at second with nobody out for Eric Hosmer. And before Hosmer comes up, let's check in with Jim Knox. Jim?
All right, Buzz, real quick, some special guests here at the ballpark tonight. The Texas Army National Guard and Texas Task Force 1. These guys were extremely busy last week with all the water rescues. How many all in all did you guys complete?
We had 7.
7. Now, Wayne here was one of the individuals that actually came down on the chain and actually rescued a pregnant lady, brought her back up. And tomorrow you guys are back at work again because more rain's on the way. What time you guys report to work?
0600.
0600. Okay, well, hopefully we'll not see any of you guys on the news tomorrow night. And thank you for everything you guys have done. And big-time Ranger fans, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll let you, go Rangers. We'll let you enjoy the rest of the game. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Buzz?
All right, Doxy, thank you.
Boy, they have been active. Every time I turned on the TV, I saw one of them.
Hosmer shooting that ball the other way. It's a fair ball toward the line. That's going to score Lorenzo Cain from second. And Hosmer, well, he does go line to line, doesn't he?
He does. He's a slashing type hitter. The home run he hit is actually a ball that I haven't seen him hit very often. Those long, high home runs. Most of his balls are line shots that some of them turn into home runs. But a couple of balls this inning, Nick has gotten up. There's a high pitch. Cain looked like he got a high off-speed pitch that he drilled into left field. Hosmer gets a pitch high, and he drilled it right down the third baseline.
Well, Hosmer with his second RBI of the night now has 27 for the year. And still nobody out here in the 6th inning. Mike Maddox out there to slow things down a little bit for Nick Martinez. Robinson Chirinos there along with Elvis Andrus. Anthony Bass starting to loosen in the Ranger bullpen. Well, concluded the little visit. Nick Martinez now ready to go back to work. Kendrys Morales twice is flying out to left field tonight. He takes a knee-high strike. It is 0-1. Morales, the switch-hitting designated hitter, signed a 2-year deal with the Royals in the offseason. Split last year between the Twins and the Mariners. 0-2 as Nick pulled the string. Well, several years ago, Morales came to the big leagues with the Angels, and he looked like a world beater. Big, strong guy, a switch hitter that hit 30 home runs. He lines this one to left center field. Delino to Shields on his horse, dives, he can't get it. It's one hopping off the wall. Hosmer around third will score. Morales with an opposite gap double has tied the ball game. It is 3-3. And just like that, these Royals came back against Nick Martinez and the Rangers to tie things up. Double, single, double.
And Morales is off to a good start this year. He's going to get a fastball right down the middle of the plate on the outside part of the plate. And if you look at this inning, it's an example that shows the difference between having success by making the pitches you're trying to make or running into trouble with pitches that end up in a location that you're trying to avoid.
Yep.
Cain hit a hanger. Hosmer hit a high pitch, and that's a fastball that had some movement, but it took it right out over the middle of the plate. And all three guys are hitting over 300, driving in runs and providing offensive power in the middle of the lineup that makes the Royals one of the best offensive teams in baseball. So those are three guys you can't get away with those mistakes very often.
Yeah, when the ball is running back to the middle of the plate, if it's running off the plate outside, that's fine, or off the plate inside, that's fine. But when it's running back to the middle, that usually doesn't turn out too well.
Yeah, that's a case where the movement's not helping you.
Snap throw down to second. Morales back ahead of the tag by Elvis. Well, Alex Gordon at the plate. Gordon tonight has doubled and been called out on strikes. Morales the lead from second. Into left center field. Ryan O'Shields able to corral that one. Staying at second is Morales. That's the first out here in the 6th inning. Hey, Texas A&M fans, Fox Sports Southwest wants you to show your Aggie pride at a Texas Ranger game. Get discounted tickets for the May 28th game against the Red Sox, and the first 1,000 fans with an A&M ticket at the park that night get a free Rangers cap in Aggie maroon and white colors. Go to TexasRangers.com/TAMU for details.
In the last game that Nick pitched, 13 of the 18 balls put in play were hit on the ground. Today, there's been a lot of balls hit in the air. In fact, if you count balls that were hit for base hits or a home run, there's been over, I think, 13 balls hit in the air so far today. So I guess, Buzz, that would be an indication that he's not keeping the ball down, maybe, or he's just not, the sinker's not as effective. He's just not getting as many ground balls as he normally gets.
Tom, what I'm seeing is what we have seen the first two pitches from Salvador Perez. Nick throwing the fastball inside and not getting swings. And he'd been doing that before.
Yeah.
Especially in that one in Tampa Bay. He got a lot of ground balls on guys that jammed themselves with their swings.
Good point.
And there haven't been that many tonight where Nick has made that pitch and gotten a swing on the same pitch.
Yeah. And that's against a team that walks less than any team in the American League, which would indicate they're free swingers. But that's a good point, because it would appear their game plan is to not swing at the pitch where he's trying to jam you.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. 2-1 to Perez.
Which I guess boils down to what we talk about all the time. Pitchers and hitters constantly have to make adjustments. You know, you keep pounding it in there if they keep swinging at it, but when they stop swinging at it, I guess you have to have a counter.
Well, and as a pitcher, you throw a couple in there and they don't swing at it, and you kind of say, you know, did he just not swing at that one pitch, or is that a pattern? It takes you a while to figure it out, and by the time you get it figured out, a lot of bad things could have happened. Now, he finally got a swing from Perez on that pitch, working his way down and in. But that's not the pitch that he'd been throwing the jam guys. That would have been the fastball a little above belt high. 2-2 to Perez. Off the end of the bat, up the middle. And Elvis. And pulls Prince off the bag, and everybody's safe. Fielder stretched out for it, and the ball was a little bit higher than he thought it was going to be. Elvis kind of threw him a changeup. And that is going to be an error, I'm going to assume, on the throw by Elvis.
Yeah, it's a routine play for Elvis. You've got the catcher running. You've got the ball in plenty of time. And now it's just a matter of making an accurate throw to first base. The throw sails, it's high, and Prince can't keep his foot on the bag.
Yeah, that's going to go down as an E6.
Now instead of a man on third and 2 outs, now it's first and third and only 1 out. Sacrifice fly scores a run. Fly ball would have ended the inning with an accurate throw.
It's the 9th error of the year charged to Andrews. Omar Infante taking strike one. Infante has struck out and flied to center field. .240 average, but he does have 13 RBI. And he's batting with the go-ahead run at third base and 1 out. Nick jumping out in front of the count. No balls, 2 strikes. Nick, 91 pitches here tonight. There, you got to swing out on that one. That's a foot inside.
It'll probably hit your belt buckle if you don't swing at it and foul it off.
The 0-2 to left field. Peguero makes the catch. Tagging at third is Morales. Here comes Peguero's throw. It's high. Morales scores, down to second. On the throw goes Perez. And the Royals have taken a 4-3 lead on Infante's sacrifice fly.
Well, that's the difference between the end of the inning on that fly ball or the go-ahead run, scoring on a sacrifice fly. He went for it. He knew he had a fairly slow runner at third base, so he's going to try to launch it. And
yeah,
maybe if that ball came down right on top of home plate, he had a shot at him, but it's pretty difficult to do from way out there.
Well, the Royals have scored 3 in the inning to take a 4-3 lead. Perez at second base, and Gerard Dyson takes strike one. Dyson 0 for 2 tonight, a fly ball to center and a strikeout. Royals now 4 runs on 6 hits. Rangers 3 runs on 5 hits. And strike 2 is in at the knees. Dyson now 0 for his last 5 trips to the plate. Martinez trying to get him to end this 6th inning. Nice block by Chirinos on the breaking ball that bounced right around home plate. 1-2. Get a good look on that curveball from Nick Martinez. The spin with all 4 seams rotating over the top and straight down. Two-hopper out to Tommy Field. On to first, that'll do it. Side retired, but Royals come up with 3 runs on 3 hits. There was 1 error and 1 man left after 5.5. It's the Royals 4 and the Rangers 3 on Fox Sports Southwest. Sonic Slam Inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,000 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight the Rangers are hitting for Betty Quinn from Lancaster. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Betty Quinn from Lancaster will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. The Rangers now in comeback mode. They trail 4-3. Kyle Blanks to start things off. Carlos Peguero and Tommy Field to follow. Edinson Volquez back out to the mound and misses high with the first pitch here in the 6th inning. Volquez 81 pitches now, 47 strikes, 34 balls. Blanks drives it to right center field, up the alley, and one hop off the wall. While into second, a leadoff double. And Kansas City started off their half of the 6th with a 2-bagger. Kyle Blanks obliges, returns the favor.
Nice to see Rangers come right back after giving up 3. Get that leadoff man at second base. Volquez with a pitch that looks like it's right down the middle of the plate. The Rangers take advantage of a good pitch to hit. Not quite down the middle, but still, for Blanks, as long and lanky as he is, that really was right in his wheelhouse.
So Kyle Blanks, a 2-hit night. Singled in the 2nd, and now the leadoff double here in the 6th. Ryan Madson, hard-throwing right-hander, loosening in that Kansas City bullpen, and Ned Yost on his way out to the mound. Well, one of the strong points that Kansas City has is that bullpen again. It came to light last year, how good they were at shutting games down, and this year not much difference, although Kelvin Herrera is not with them right now. He's serving a suspension. Everybody else is available for action. So that's going to do it for Edinson Volquez. He goes 5 innings plus 1 hitter here in the 6th. He will depart with the lead in hand, but the tying run out there at second base and nobody out. We'll tell you about Ryan Madson when we come back from this timeout on Fox Sports Southwest. Continue the series against the Royals. Come on out to Globe Park. Enjoy the ballpark hot dogs for just $1 each. Visit TexasRangers.com for tickets, or you can call 972-RANGER. 34-year-old right-hander Ryan Madson on the hill now. Madson, a medical marvel coming back from some severe arm injuries. Had Tommy John a couple of years ago. Trying to come back with Cincinnati, did not make it back. Ended up pitching minor league ball last year. He's back here and gets a sawed-off shot off the bat of Carlos Peguero on the first pitch, and that bat just exploded.
Yeah, that's a case of going up there against a pitcher you've never seen before and swinging at the first pitch and getting jammed.
Well, Peguero is the first out here in the 6th inning with Blank staying at second. Be picking up splinters from that bat for a while.
Yeah, that's probably not what the game plan was. To go up and swing at the first pitch out of the strike zone after guys just doubled.
Well, one out. Here's Tommy Field. Field is 1 for 2 tonight. One ball, no strikes. Our Ford leaderboard. Team home runs this month. The Rangers trailing the Astros just by 1. The Astros with 17, Rangers with 16 of them. Rangers, of course, with the home run barrage last night, had 3 of them. There's a base hit to left field. Blanks had to make sure it went through. It did, so he only advances to third base. But Tommy Field, with his second hit of the night, the Rangers have runners at the corners and 1 out for Robinson Chirinos.
Yeah, Tommy's taking advantage of the opportunity. Nice game last night. He's got a couple of hits today. It's a good pitch from Madsen, right in the zone, and rips it into left field. The Rangers trying to get a run back and tie it up right here. Madsen had 32 saves in 2011. Hasn't pitched since until this year. That is a medical marvel. But he's throwing pretty well too. He's off to an excellent start this year. 130 opponent's batting average coming into the game.
And Robinson Chirinos, fly ball to fairly deep left center field. Blanks is tagging at third. The throw goes into second. Blanks will score. And Robinson Chirinos ties this ball game. The sacrifice fly. And Blanks, with the run scored, makes it a 4-4 game. Well, a good job by Robinson getting that pitch up where he could elevate it. And he got it out into the outfield for the run.
Yeah, he got looked like he got a hanger and hit it off the end of the bat. Otherwise, yeah, he did. He just got a little bit out in front of that ball and hit it off the end of the bat. Good job, deep enough to get the run in, and just a little bit toward the end of the bat to keep it from going a lot farther.
Well, Blanks, who led the inning off with a double, comes in to score the tying run. Field now at first with 2 outs. And here's Delano's shield. There goes Field. The bunt is on, but Madsen able to bounce off the mound, and he makes the play at first base. Well, the Rangers gone as Delano DeShields trying to butt his way aboard with 2 outs. Rangers score the tying run on a couple of hits and leave one. 4-4 after 6. Ford game summary through the first 6 innings. It all started with Shin-Soo Choo. He wrapped one around that foul pole, leading off the game for the Rangers. Eric Hosmer came back the next inning, and he deposited one in the upper deck in right field. That tied the ball game at 1. And Robinson Chirinos in the 6th inning. Sacrifice fly, scoring Kyle Blanks from third base to tie the game once again It is 4-4 as we head to the 7th. And Nick Martinez back to the hill, facing the top of the Kansas City order. Alcides Escobar tonight has tripled and been hit by a pitch. He is 1 for 2. Nick missing off the plate outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Escobar a .303 average as he faces Martinez leading off this 7th inning. Nick again throwing something other than the fastball in a fastball count, able to get the swing and a miss. Alex Claudio has joined Anthony Bass out there in the Ranger bullpen. Nick comes back with strike 2 to even things up. Escobar waiting. Got him swinging.
Yeah, he's coming back from a 2-0 count.
Now for Nick, that is strikeout number 4. And that is going to be the last hitter he faces, apparently, as you get the left-handed hitting Mike Moustakas coming up. And with Alex Claudio out there in the Ranger bullpen, Jeff Bannister on his way to the mound. He has signaled that he wants the left-hander to come on in. So Nick finished after 6 1/3. He leaves in a tie ball game, 4-4 the score. Alex Claudio making his way in as Nick Martinez leaves to a nice round of applause. We'll take a timeout. We're back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Gura tonight 1 for 3 with a run scored for the Brewers. Out in San Francisco, Brandon Belt 1 out of 4 with a run. Yunel Escobar with the Nationals 0 for 1 tonight. And Scott Van Slyke with the Dodgers tonight against Miami, 481 in his last 9 home games. Go to DraftKings.com, enter the promo code of D-Town. Alex Claudio on now to take over for Nick Martinez, dealing to Mike Moustakas in what probably will be a one-hitter appearance. Claudio appearing in his 9th ball game. That's fouled back. And very quickly, Alex out in front of the count. No balls, 2 strikes. And if he disposes of Moustakas rather handily, he might get a chance to face Kane with the left-hander Hosmer to follow in that order. There's Lorenzo Kane in the on-deck circle. Alex pitched a scoreless 9th inning to finish out the game last night. There's a drive to right field. It's headed to the Ranger bullpen, and it is gone. third time that Alex Claudio has come into a ball game in the last week and given up a home run, as Moustakas puts the Royals back on top, 5-4.
Well, the Royals have just taken advantage of some good pitches to hit, especially in the 6th inning and now in the 7th inning. Claudio had Moustakas down, no balls and 2 strikes. He's probably trying to waste this pitch or get him to chase something off the plate and out of the strike zone. Instead, he hung it out over the plate, and Moustakas on an 0-2 count launched the go-ahead home run. Well, ball's right near the middle of the plate, not where he was trying to throw the ball, not where he wanted to throw the ball. He wanted to get that 8 to 10 inches more outside and maybe a little lower, where he couldn't hit it. Either took it for a ball or swung and missed at it.
Yeah, that reaction from Alex Claudio tells you all you need to know. And that's going to do it for the left-hander, as Jeff Bannister has called for Anthony Bass to come on. We'll take another timeout. We're right back to Globe Life Park after this. Anthony Bass on now to face Lorenzo Cain. Royals back on top, 5-4 after Moustakas' home run, and Anthony Bass appearing in his 11th ball game this year. 3.57 ERA, a 2.53 opponent's batting average against Bass. And Cain shoots one out of play down the right side. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Anthony's done a solid job for the Rangers. He's pitched in a lot of different roles, really. He's had long relief appearances where he's had to throw some innings. He's appeared in games late as well.
Yeah, being used more and more toward the middle and latter stages of the ball game instead of just being relegated to a long man. He's done a very good job. Lorenzo Cain started the 3-run 6th inning for the Royals with a double. Came around to score on Eric Hosmer's base hit. And he takes wide. That runs the count full. 1 out here in the 7th inning. Cain trying to get aboard. Eric Hosmer, the aforementioned Eric Hosmer, is waiting to be next. Bass to the wind, the payoff pitch. Pulled foul outside third. Cain checking the lumber to see if there are any cracks in it. Extra base hits. American League team leaders. Royals with 6 of their 7 hits tonight going for extra bases. Now with 106. Yankees, the resurgent Yankees. They're playing some good baseball. With 115, they lead. And Cain waiting at strike 3. And Bass strikes out the first man he faces. 2 gone now. Eric Hosmer coming up.
Good fastball by Anthony right there at 93 miles an hour. Zipped it right on the outside part of the plate. A little bit outside, but he got Cain to chase that pitch. Looked like he's got a little bit of cutting action on that ball that caused it to move just slightly away from him. That's the kind of movement that's tough to pick up for a hitter. You don't really realize what happened until it's all over.
Well, Eric Hosmer tonight has had a perfect night. He has had a solo home run and an RBI single. He has scored 2 runs, and he's also mixed in a walk. 328 the average, and Hosmer shoots it out of play into the second deck on the left side. 1-1 the count. The hits are even at 7 tonight, but the Royals, with a couple of home runs, have put one more run on the board than have the Rangers. 5-4 Kansas City. Well, he tied him up with that swing. That is going to do it. Nice job by Bass to get the strikeout and a ground out. Royals gone in the 7th, but they take the lead. Moustakas' home run gives the Royals a 5-4 lead, bottom of the 7th. Years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and a lot more every night on every device. Visit MLB.tv for details. We saw Baylor Bears coach Art Briles in attendance tonight. Luke Hochevar, right-hander coming back from the disabled list, back in active duty now. Did not pitch at all last year. On the hill here to take over in the 7th inning, facing the top of the Ranger order. Hochevar just appearing in his 3rd game with the Royals this year. 31-year-old. And Chu fouls that next pitch down. Hochevar converted to the bullpen after being a starter for the first 4 years he was with Kansas City. 2013, Hochevar went to the pen and appeared in 58 games. 70 innings, had 82 strikeouts. And that's something the Royals have done pretty effectively. Take guys that had a starting history and put them in the pen. That's off the glove of Infante. And Chu is going to be aboard, a big turn, but he will hang on with a leadoff single.
Yeah, Hochevar was a very high draft choice, and I think the thought was they wanted him to be a starter. When they traded for Wade Davis, they wanted him to be a starter too. Almost got to it right off the end of the glove. Almost slowed it down enough where Shin-Soo might have gone for 2. But Wade Davis has gone from a starter that wasn't quite getting the job done to the liking of Kansas City to a dominant reliever. Hochevar, almost the same type of a thing. Funny how a guy's not getting him out as a starter. You make him a reliever and he concentrates on that 1 inning.
Yeah.
Wade Davis's case, fastball goes from 89 to 92 to 96 or 97.
And that before Hochevar got hurt, that was kind of the pattern he went through, too. He stopped trying to mess around with stuff, and he said, okay, for 15 or 18 pitches, I can go and air it out.
Yeah.
And, boy, he did, too.
Dominating.
Yep. Elvis tonight, 1 for 2 officially. He's singled, also drawn a walk, and lined to third. Rangers with a tying run now at first base, and nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Jew with a pretty good lead as Hochevar checks him. Elvis showing bunt. 1 ball and 1 strike. Sean Tollison getting loose out in the Ranger bullpen. Elvis, hands held high above his right shoulder. There goes Chu. The pitch is grounded, a base hit. How in the world did he make that? The throw coming to third, and out at third base is Chu, who either stumbled or hesitated going around second. Continued on, and Alex Gordon threw him out.
Well, it was a hit and run, and Chu's on the run. And it did look like he slowed going around second. Let's take a look. He picks. No, he tripped. You're right. He did trip. Didn't see that. Wasn't exactly sure where the ball was. Once he picked the ball up, he tripped a little bit. And then slid right into the tag. Wow, what a shame. Great job by Elvis on the hit and run, putting that ball in play.
I still don't know how he hit that thing. That was crazy. No, unfortunately, turns into the first out, and Elvis now at first base. Prince Fielder coming up. Prince 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly and an RBI single. And Hochevar will go to work on Elvis. Take a look at Elvis's swing.
Well, he did exactly what he had to do to put the ball in play, and then you get a little bit lucky and you find a hole like that. And that's a beautiful job right there by Elvis. You can't do the hit and run any better than that on a bad pitch.
Down at the shoe tops of Prince Fielder. 1 ball and no strikes. Fielder now 17 runs driven in, the team leader for the Rangers.
Also a perfect throw by Gordon, charging it and throwing on the run like an infielder. That throws anywhere other than the perfect throw. Chu's probably safe.
Yep. Oh, a shot foul down the first base side. 1 ball and 1 strike. Chase Tingler over there at first base coach's box tonight. We understand that Hector Ortiz a little bit under the weather. Base out of the dugout and manning the first base coach's box. One and 1 to Fielder. Royal infield again shading Fielder to the right, but not over shifting. See Escobar still on the shortstop side of second. Called strike 1 and 2. Our T-Mobile game changer of the night, Alex Gordon. Mentioned his Gold Glove awards. Last year, the Platinum Glove Award winner. That means the best defensive player in the American League. The first outfielder to ever win that prestigious award. 64 outfield assists since 2011. One, two, the count. That will even things up. Fielder's got a pretty good run growing against the Kansas City Royals. Go back to the start of 2012. Prince was with the Tigers. He's hit .331 with 7 home runs in 38 games against Kansas City. His 7th home run of course, came last night. He hit a bomb out to dead center field. If he were to do the same thing right now, the Rangers would lead. That'd be okay.
It'd be fine.
Salvador Perez wants that slider down and in to Prince Fielder. Elvis with the lead at first. And Fielder said, no, you're not going down in there. I'm going to get you out of there. Still 2-2. Prince with the average at .338. His base hit back in the third inning. He went right at straightaway shortstop, and for the Royals there was nobody there, so they defeated themselves with a shift. Now they've got a couple guys in the vicinity. The breaking ball hangs outside, and the count has now run full. The Fielder trying to get aboard to join Elvis. Adrian Beltre, the Ranger cleanup man, waiting in the on-deck circle. Fox track showing you that Luke Oche has been all over the place in this at-bat to Prince Fielder. Elvis at first. Stepping off that lead, Hochevar checks it. There goes Elvis. The pitch is hit high in the air to center field. Lorenzo Cain has a play on it. Elvis located the ball, so he's able to stop and retreat as Cain puts the fly ball away for out number 2. And before Adrian Beltre steps in, let's send it over to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Well, here's Beltre. Adrian has had quite a few occasions to face Luke Hochevar over the years. Adrian 7 for 17 against him with 2 home runs. Elvis at first, 2 outs. Rangers trailing 5-4 here in the 7th inning. Beltre hits one right off the end of the bat. How about our AT&T U-verse rewind for you? Last night, Adrian Beltre against Danny Duffy going the other way and got it out over the State Farm sign. His 399th career home run. Be a perfect time for number 400.
Be beautiful.
Hochevar, a look at first. And the 1-1 pitch coming to Beltre. Instead, Adrian asked for time. Hochevar being very deliberate with Elvis getting a pretty good lead at first base. It's low and outside, 2-1 now. Career home runs, Adrian tied with Andres Galarraga and Al Kaline. One shy of 400. Duke Snider at 407 is next up the list at 51. That's going to drop for a base hit. Elvis continues on around the third. Dyson gets the ball back in. Beltre with his first hit of the night. Rangers with runners at the corners, and Kyle Blanks coming up.
Rangers had 3 hits in the inning, still haven't scored yet. Coming closer though. Rangers hit a pretty tough pitch. It looked like a slider down and away. Hits it toward the end of the bat. Not quite a strike even. Drops it in front of the right fielder Dyson on that play. Rangers have An opportunity with a man on third base right here.
Dave Island, the pitching coach, out to discuss things with Luke Hochevar and the majority of the infield, along with Salvador Perez. Brief meeting about Kyle Blanks, who tonight is 2 for 3, a single and a double. Another time he had a strikeout as he led off the 4th inning. But here a chance with the tying and go-ahead runs on base for the Rangers in the 5th inning. 7th inning, excuse me. In the 5th inning. The last time the Rangers able to score. Hochevar okays the sign. The right-hander is ready. That slider or cutter.
Yep.
Big cutter. 0-1. Hochevar, the tall Tennessean. Little blooper into right field. If it's fair, it's a run. It is.
Look at that.
In to score is Elvis. On to third goes Beltre. And Kyle Blanks with a little, excuse me, RBI single ties the ball game at 5.
That's a, you don't see very often, a check swing blooper right down the right field line. That's getting the job done, Kyle. Makes up for those 350-foot fly balls you hit for outs yesterday. Wanted to check his swing. Instead, he gets an RBI hit. He's going, whoa, yeah, I got an RBI coming.
Dropped it just inside the line. Now Leonis Martin has come out of the Ranger dugout. He is going to run for Kyle Blanks. Remember, Blanks DHing tonight. So Leonis will assume the DH role. Carlos Peguero at the plate trying to untie this game. Inside for ball 1.
A couple of strange hits. Elvis's hit and run hit that he shot into left field between short and third, and then a bloop single on a check swing to right field.
Peguero, a good rip and a foul straight back. 1 ball and 1 strike. Peguero tonight has lined to center, reached on an error, and tapped back to the mound. 220 the average. Carlos tied for the team lead with those 4 home runs. All 4 of those have come in the last 7 ball games for him. 1-1 as Hochevar comes to the plate. Broken bat looper up the middle, diving and making the catch is Escobar.
That almost turned into another hit. That would have been an RBI single to beat all singles.
Man. Well, that'll do it. Rangers are out in the 7th, but they come up with a run on 4 hits and lead 2. Will go to the 8th, tied at 5.
be these girls, Duncanville's softball team. You know, they could have gone to a stuffy sports banquet instead. Hey, no, we're going to come out to the ballpark and root the Rangers on. You girls having a good time, Tatum?
Yes, we're having a great time.
All right, sign looks good. How'd you guys do this season?
We did awesome. We worked our butts off.
Worked your butt. Okay, well, good. All right, well, congratulations for doing that. Here's the shirt. This little guy looks a little young for the softball team, but he's in the softball picture there. You girls have a good time. Appreciate it. Have some fun out here, okay? There we go. Oh, golly, very solemn crowd here. Let's pick it up a notch here. Yeah, how about that, Tom?
That's the Naziano right there.
Well, Sean Tolleson now on to work the 8th inning for the Rangers. He'll face Morales, Alex Gordon, and Salvador Perez. A 5-5 ball game. Rangers now 5 runs on 11 hits tonight. Royals 5 runs on 7 hits.
Rangers had a lot of rallies in this game. They've scored in 1 run in 5 of the 7 innings.
Donaldson appearing in his 14th ball game. Last worked on Sunday down in Tampa Bay. Opponent's batting average of .245. That's come up a little bit. Sean has had a couple of outings that were not exactly what he wanted. He got things turned around Sunday. Morales 1 for 3 tonight. Had an RBI double in the 6th inning and came around to score what at that time was the go-ahead run. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Morales sitting at .303 as he faces Tolleson. Leading off in the 8th inning. Tap foul at the plate. We'll try it again. Morales and Tolleson have battled one other time. Morales won that with a home run. Not this time, though, as Tolleson gets him on strikes.
Yep, good assortment of pitches in that at bat. The guy swinging the bat pretty well, too.
Pretty good breaking ball down out of the strike zone. Morales couldn't lay off it.
Great look at it, too,
yep.
Coming out of his hand, the spin, the break.
1 away, and Alex Gordon now will step in. Gordon also with a double in 3 trips. Here's the straight changeup. 1 ball, no strikes. Wade Davis, the guy you talked about a moment ago, Tom, out there in that Kansas City bullpen.
We've seen him over the last couple of years come in and just be totally dominating with upper 90s fastball. Of course, their whole bullpen feels like that way. They get a lead after the 5th or 6th inning, and you can forget it.
Although the Rangers tonight have scored single runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Pitch fouled back over our heads. 2 balls and a strike. Gordon's double came in the 2nd inning. He shot it right down the first base line.
You mentioned this a couple of times over the last couple of days. Kelvin Herrera, usually their 7th inning guy and a dominating guy himself, not available right now. He's on the suspended list.
Left center Neil Peguero coming in, and he can't get it. It's off his glove. Going for second is Gordon. The slide, he's safe. Carlos Peguero may have lost that momentarily in the lights as he was running a straight line toward it and then hesitated. Looked like he couldn't find it for a second.
Well, I think the way he was straining, bending over, looking at the ball as it was coming toward his glove, seemed to indicate that it's one of those humpback liners caught in the lights right there. It looked like it.
That's going to be scored a double. Second double for Alex Gordon tonight. Well, the Royals now with the go-ahead run out at second base and one away. Salvador Perez will come on to face Sean Tolleson. Alex Gordon, the 9th double that he's had this season.
Yeah, Sean made a good pitch to him. Looked like he jammed him. And under normal conditions, probably a very catchable ball for Padilla.
Perez fouls one straight down. It is 0-1. Perez 0 for 3 tonight, and he's on an 0 for 13 streak. Tolleson a check of second. And this is inside. Peel down to first, and Ted Barrett said no swing. 1-1 the count. And we'll see if having Art Briles in attendance will give Sean Tolleson a little Baylor backing. Base hit to left field. Peguero up with it, and Gordon will stop at third. He again had to hesitate. That ball just out of Adrian Beltre's reach. But now the Royals with runners at the corners and one out, and Omar Infante is coming up.
Perez takes that low fastball, hits it a little bit off the end of the bat, but just barely sneaks it by Adrian by about a foot. You should be looking for a double play right there.
Well, that snapped that offer that Perez had going. Mike Maddox now out to talk with Sean Tolleson and Robinson Chirinos. Home plate umpire Scott Berry going to go out there and see if he can't hurry up the proceedings a bit. Now the Rangers trying to set up a defense for this too, and what happens if Perez takes off from first? They're going to throw through. They're going to throw to third. What do they want to do with Omar Infante? Possibility of maybe a suicide squeeze too with a guy like Infante that handles the bat well. So a lot of things to consider. The folks out in the lower home run porch considering it too, as that shot from behind them showed you. Well, here's Infante now. Last time up, Infante had a sacrifice fly that drove in at that time the go-ahead run. That was in the 6th inning. Runners at the corners and one out. Check swing in the dirt. He went around this time. 0-1.
Infante will definitely chase balls out of the strike zone. So far this year, he's had 98 at bats. He's only walked twice. But if you can walk him with a man on third base and one out, you might as well walk him intentionally. That might be the only way you're going to do it.
Chopper to Beltre. He's going to try and turn it around the corner, and they Tommy Field, that ball did not spend much time in his glove. A 5-4-3 double play, and the threat has ended. Beltre started it, Field turned it, and Fielder ended up with it. Bottom of the 8th coming up. 5-5 the score.
5 between the Royals and the Rangers as we welcome you back to Globe Life Park. Game 2 of a 4-game set between these two. Game 3 will be played tomorrow. Same time, same place, 7 o'clock here at Globe Life Park. There are a couple of the proponents in this one. Eric Hosmer, 25 RBIs, 4th in the American League. And, of course, Adrian Beltre sitting on 399. Will he get a shot at 400 tonight, fellas?
All right, Dan, thank you. Now we head to the bottom of the 8th now, and Tommy Field, to start things off, he'll be facing Wade Davis. Hard-throwing right-hander. Davis, a 29-year-old out of Marlboro, New York. And he misses inside with ball 1. Tommy Field tonight, 2 for 3. Had a pair of singles. Also robbed on a great play by Mike Moustakas at third. There's a strike. And Neftali Feliz getting ready in that Ranger bullpen. Tom was telling you about Wade Davis, formerly with the Tampa Bay Rays. He and James Shields came over year before last. That deal that sent, among others, Will Meyer on to Tampa Bay. Davis at that time had been used by the Rays in 2012 out of the bullpen. He'd been a starter up until 2012. And he gets the strikeout of Tommy Field. Has shot that in there at 95 miles an hour. 1 gone. We'll take you back. Take a look at that inning-ending double play. How about Adrian Beltre getting started?
Yeah, he knows he doesn't have time to get his feet underneath him to turn a double play. With a go-ahead run at third, he gets rid of it as quickly as he can, accurately with something on it. I don't know how he did it. And then Tommy Fields just did a great job getting rid of it quickly. He's got a strong arm at second base. Nice combination to turn that double play. Didn't look like it was going to be a double play till Adrian, off balance, threw that strong throw to second.
Amazing how he can be running one direction and throw it exactly the opposite direction with something on it.
Yeah, get that velocity. Great job by Tommy to turn it, too.
Yep. Robinson Chirinos trying to bunt his way aboard and bunts it back foul over the screen. 0-2 the count. Chirinos tonight 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. Robinson now a 172 average. Facing Wade Davis with the bases empty. Wade Davis last year with Kansas City, 71 appearances. He went 9-2 with an ERA of 1. And Chirinos pops it up on the right side. Hosmer into foul territory to put it away for out number 2. Next will be Delino to Shields. Wade Davis, originally a 3rd-round draft pick by the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2004. One of those Tampa Bay pitchers ended up having more than 700 innings of minor league work before he established himself at the big league level. Delino, 2 walks, 2 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. Tried to bunt his way aboard last time, but bunted into an out. And he's ahead in the count with Davis on the mound. 2 balls, no strikes. Davis set. And DeShields fouls it away. You know, Delino's on-base percentage coming in tonight was at .308. Better than 100 points higher than his batting average. And that's gone up some tonight. with the 2 walks. It's taken, and it's strike 2. And the Fox tracker showing you that last pitch right down on the inside corner, knee high. Down the first baseline, it's a fair ball. DeShields rounding first, falls down. Dyson throwing behind him.
I guess he did. He threw it behind him 2 different ways. Delino just trying to put the ball in play. Just shot it right down the right field line. Normally you'd say there's no way that's not a double with him running.
Yeah.
Right fielder's playing him over there.
And somebody greased up the base paths again.
Hey, when you're going that fast, it's hard to turn.
Yeah. No kidding. I'm going to put the speed brakes on. No, Rangers have the go-ahead run at first base now on 2 outs. Shin-Soo Choo at the plate, and you can look for Delino to turn on the afterburners here in short order. Choo takes it up and in for ball 1. Shin-Soo tonight is 2 for 4. Another multi-hit game for him. He has really gotten things going. He's up over the 200 mark now. 206. 12-game hitting streak. In those 12 games, he has raised his average from 096 to 206. Davis with a pretty quick move over there, and Delino just able to scramble back. Chase Tingler over there first.
He was a little slow with his delivery to the plate on the first pitch. Don't know if he's got a quicker delivery than that.
There goes DeShields. The pitch is a strike. The throw is in time. They got him this time. And Jeff Bannister out of the dugout very quickly. He's going to have Steve Buechele get the information from Joey Probinski on what he sees from the replay. And it did indeed from that replay look like they got it. And Jeff walking slowly toward home plate. And he's going to go ahead and issue the challenge. So, the crew chief, Ted Barrett, along with the second base umpire, Chris Conroy, are going to go over and get the headsets, call into replay command center in New York, and the umpire has been charged with keeping an eye on this game. We'll look at all the available replay angles and determine whether the call is upheld or not. And he is out. Well, that call is definitely upheld. So that'll do it. Didn't take long for the folks in New York to figure that out. We're going to go to the 9th inning. It remains the Rangers 5 and the Royals 5.
as we head into this final frame. A lot of action so far in this game, and still much more to come, no doubt. And we'll have plenty of time to wrap it all up on Rangers Live, the post-game edition, coming up right after the game. We'll hear from the manager, Jeff Bannister, and tonight's starter, Nick Martinez, as well as Josh Hamilton, who gave a training update this afternoon from Round Rock. We'll have that for you coming up. So join me, Mac, and Pudge, who hasn't even interrupted yet tonight. So apparently I need to get him some more coffee. We got to caffeinate Pudge for the post-game show, but we'll do that and much more coming up right after the game. Buzz and Tom, back to you guys.
All right, Dana, thank you. Yeah, get Pudge, get him fired up. Well, a guy you know is going to be fired up coming in. Neftali Feliz trying to come into a tie ball game and keep it right there, facing the number 9 man, Gerard Dyson. Feliz, 14 appearances now, 4.05 ERA. He has been very good of late. Come in with excellent velocity. And 93 out of the chute here tonight. Jumping ahead, no balls, 2 strikes. Dyson 0 for 3, a strikeout, a flyout, and a ground out. Score tied at 5. 1-2. Rod Dyson, a speedster, but the batting average has prevented him from using that speed to great efficiency. He's hitting just .212. He has 5 stolen bases. All 5 of those came in a series against the Cleveland Indians. A hanging off-speed pitch from Feliz that Dyson fouled back. Still 1-2. Dyson filling in for Alex Rios, Rangers, former Rangers right fielder. Rios had signed a free agent deal with the Kansas City Royals to play right field for them, and fractured his hand in the second week of April. And Dyson doing a pretty good job of filling in for him. Certainly not the great defensive outfielder that Alex Rios is. Dyson, though, can cover a lot of ground. That's low and inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A dozen hits tonight for the Rangers, 9 hits for Kansas City. Both of them with 5 runs and 1 error apiece. Low and inside, 3-2. Well, the last thing you want to do is walk a guy like Dyson to start off an inning.
That's no disrespect to Dyson, but there's just a lot of good hitters in the lineup.
Yep.
That's why he's hitting 9th on this team.
So Alcides Escobar waiting to be next. He's the leadoff man for the Royals. Feliz with a payoff pitch. Little looper out towards short, and Elvis comes in to grab that one. Dyson got sawed off, and then he's out number 1.
A couple of blasts to shortstop for each team tonight. Escobar had to make a spectacular diving catch to keep one little blooper from falling in right behind the pitcher's mound. It would have scored a run if he got that ball in on his fist. Elvis might have been playing a little shallow for him. At shortstop to allow him to come in and catch that pop-up.
Very rare you see a shift toward home plate. Alcides Escobar trying to check his swing, and he did, according to Ted Barrett. It is 1-0. Escobar, 1 out of 2 against Neftali Feliz. 1 for 3 tonight. The triple. He's also hit by a pitch. Feliz coming back with another breaking ball. 1-1. Feliz set. 2 balls and a strike. Escobar, along with the 1 base hit against Feliz, also has drawn a couple of walks. And ball 3. Well, the second straight hitter that Neftali's gone to a 3-ball count. Escobar hitting in the number 1 slot. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Mike Moustakas. Neffy okays the sign, the 3-1 pitch. Rounded up the middle by the dive of Elvis and into center field. Escobar, a big turn at first. He will hang on. But the Royals have the go-ahead run aboard with 1 out here in the 9th, and Moustakas coming up.
Escobar is a good runner. Last year he stole 31 out of 37 bases. This year he's only 2 out of 3. He hasn't been running quite as much yet. He's got good speed. He's a threat on the bases. Good try by Elvis, but there wouldn't have been much he could do even if he did catch that ball.
Escobar was spent some time on the concussion disabled list. He got hit by a pitch in Toronto and had to spend, I think it was 9 days on the 7-day concussion list to make sure he was all right. Moustakas kind of had concussion dreams about that pitch. It was up and into him. Royal third baseman had the solo home run his last time up. That was off of Alex Claudio, the only hitter that Claudio faced tonight. Well, Moustakas now 4 home runs and 11 RBI. It's out of play to the left. 1 ball and 1 strike. Moustakas digging back in. Feliz reading the signs and has 1. And he will drive Escobar back. Neftali's done a very good job adjusting his ability to hold runners on and deliver the ball to home plate quickly. Used to be he didn't really pay much attention.
No, he didn't.
And now he's done a very good job with slide step, varying the times that he stays in the stretch. Occasionally throwing over to first, but just doing an overall better job, I think, of managing that. The only problem is sometimes when he speeds up his motion, he gets out of whack as far as throwing strikes. And that's the last thing you want to have happen. 2-1 the count to Moustakas. That's headed to center field, a base hit. Escobar around second will motor into third. And the Royals, again, as they did in the 8th inning, have runners at the corners and 1 out. This time Lorenzo Cain is coming up.
It looked like a changeup that Moustakas was able to wait on. Hit it pretty sharply back through the middle. Second hit for Moustakas, 2 for 5 on the night. Mike Maddox going to have a little chat here. Last time he came out first and third and 1 out, the Rangers turned a double play.
Yep.
Mike's going to try to use the same magic this time. Tell Neffy same thing he told Sean Tollison. Not sure what it was, but
hit the ball to Adrian.
Hit the ball to Adrian on the ground, and we'll see it back in the dugout.
Well, Mike out there to kind of take the positive message out that he always does. Now, while we have a second here, we'd like to remind you this Sunday, Rangers wrap up a 3-game series with the Cleveland Indians, and it's also the first kids giveaway of the year. The first 7,500 kids, 13 and under, will receive a U t-shirt. That's courtesy of Scott's Miracle Grow. Visit TexasRangers.com for tickets today. No conference concluded. And Lorenzo Cain, who is 1 for 4, steps in. A ground ball to the right side. That's going to get the run home. Field has only one play. It's to first. Cain on a soft ground ball drives Escobar home from third. The Royals take a 6-5 lead.
Well, there's not much you can do on that one. That was a nice play by Tommy Field just to get one out at first base. Slowly hit ball. Had too far to go. No chance to do anything but get one out.
I'm going to give Lorenzo Cain the benefit of the doubt and say that's great situational hitting. Because normally you don't see him take swings like that. I'm going to say in that situation he decided that he would take that kind of a swing. Either that or that's extremely fortunate.
I'm going with the fortunate part.
Okay. And Phillies now is going to intentionally walk Eric Hosmer, who is 2 for 3 tonight with a couple of runs driven in. Well, a lot of scoring in the last 4 innings. The Royals put 3 on the board in the 6th inning to take a 1-run lead. Rangers tied it in the bottom of the 6th. Royals with a run in the 7th to take a lead. Rangers came back to tie it in the bottom of the 7th. And now the Royals in the top of the 9th have pushed a run across to take a 6-5 lead. And we'll see if Neftali Feliz can keep it at that 1-run advantage. Intentional walk puts Hosmer aboard and brings up Kendrys Morales. Jeff Bannister, Mike Maddox, trying to help Neffy out of this inning and get the Rangers back into the dugout, give him a chance to swing the lumber. Morales tonight 1 for 4, an RBI double and a run scored in the 6th inning. Against Neftali Feliz, Morales 0 for 4. First ball swinging, that's back and out of play. Well, the Rangers with Morales up there and not respecting his speed at all. You have Tommy Field playing in a rover position out in right. Tommy's going to have to send in hand signals to let folks know where he is.
Well, one thing we've seen in a couple of days, he's got a pretty strong arm, so
yeah,
he might be all right out there. I think what Mac was saying the other day is if I were a second baseman, what I'd be feeling, you just feel so uncomfortable being in a place you don't normally stand to field a ground ball.
Sure.
You don't know how hard you've got to charge it. But I guess they're doing it enough nowadays to where he's probably been out there before and feels a little more comfortable.
0-2 the count. And Morales pops this one up. Adrian Beltre coming down near the mound. And Adrian makes the grab. And that is going to do it. But the Royals take the lead. They get a run on a couple of hits and lead 2. Jew, Andrus, and Fielder. When we come back, Rangers need 1 to tie. Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealer. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. Now the closer for the Kansas City Royals, Greg Holland, is on, the 29-year-old. Trying to close out this 6-5 Royals lead. Holland coming off back-to-back years with 46 and 47 saves in Kansas City.
He is one tough-to-hit pitcher, boy.
Opponent's batting average this year under 100.
He's doing it again.
Shin-Soo Choo, last one to right. And the Rangers have the tying run on to lead off the ninth inning. Choo with his third hit of the night.
This is one of the better games of the year as far as every team scoring a lot.
Yeah.
And teams behind coming back, getting men on base, a lot of opportunities.
Like that slider from Holland that just stayed up. And now Choo called back to the dugout, and Jake Smolinski has come on to be the pinch runner. He's carrying the tying run in this ball game. A bunt is down. It's a good one. The play to first, and in time, boy, Salvador Perez had to make a very tough play, and he just did get Elvis.
Yeah, that was a nice bunt. It was fairly far away from the catcher, yet Holland wasn't able to make a play on it. And the catcher is a big guy. Perez, I'm not sure what his size is, 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds. He runs after that ball and throws it on the run like a middle infielder. Beautiful play to get Elvis at first base.
Well, so now you have a choice. You have Prince Fielder up there with the tying run out at second base. First base is open. And Adrian Beltre in the on-deck circle. Do you pitch to him seriously? Do you walk him? They're going to pitch to him and shoots it to third. Great play by Moustakas to take that hot shot and turn it into an out. And boy, Fielder, the only guy on that side of the diamond for 75 feet, and he hit a bullet right at Moustakas.
Yeah, that ball is hit so hard. If it's hit anywhere to his left or right, he's probably not going to be able to react to it. And he hits it right straight at him.
Well, that didn't take much time getting into his glove either. Well, Moustakas flashing some pretty good leather down there. It's up to Adrian Beltre now. 2 outs. Smolinski at second with the tying run. Rangers trailing 6-5. In the dirt, and Perez can't find it, but Smolinski not taking any chances. 1 ball, no strikes. Beltre against Holland.
Hit the umpire right in the foot.
Yep.
Got by the catcher, but he didn't get by the umpire.
Skipped off home plate. Holland with a 1-0 pitch. Way high and outside, 2-0. Beltre is 1 for 3 against Holland with a walk and a strikeout. Smolinski getting his lead from second. He's carrying the tying run in this ball game. The 2-0 pitch coming to Beltre. 2-1. And if Adrian is able to extend this ninth inning, Carlos Corcoran has come out into the on-deck circle. Holland with that high set. 2-2.
Tell Adrian looks like he's favoring his side a little bit on some of these swings.
Yep, he almost grabbed it there. The 2-2 pitch to Beltre. In the dirt. A full count now. Smolinski, the tying run at second. Beltre, the winning run at the plate. A full count and 2 outs. And 23,659 making some noise at Globe Life Park. They are on their feet now. Greg Holland facing Adrian Beltre. The right-hander is set. The payoff pitch. Foul back. Adrian asking Scott Berry, was that a strike? And Berry said, yep, sure was. Got a Fox tracker showing you that splitting the outside corner in two. Ranger fans want to have a chance to explode. Another 3-2 is in the offing.
He really grabbed to the side on that swing.
Sure did.
Holland is not a really, if you're feeling that kind of pain in your side, this is not a good guy to face because he can make you way off balance on that off-speed pitch that he throws. The slider goes straight down. Looks like a splitter sometimes.
Holland back to the top of the hill. Beltre back in the box. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Smolinski away from second. Loop to right center field. It's down for a base hit. Smolinski scores. Beltre has tied the game. It is 6-6.
Well, that's just a case of Adrian refusing to give in that at bat. You could tell something's bothering him in his side, and he took about 3 or 4 swings that looked like they hurt and just kept battling and wafted it right over second base. That's a great at bat right there, boy. It's the off-speed pitch, slightly out of the strike zone, but it was up this time instead of down, and Adrian had to reach for it, but got it right over second base into right center field.
Well, the Rangers have come back again. They have the winning run at first base. Here's Carlos Corporan pinch hitting, and he takes a strike from Greg Holland.
And really most entertaining game of the year, really, from start to finish. There's been runs scored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 half innings. There's been runs scored in this game. Rangers have scored in 6 different innings, 1 run each time.
In the dirt, Beltre away from first and just able to get back on the throw by Perez.
That hurt too, you can tell. Taking a while to get up. Perez has got a great arm for a big guy. He's quick,
he does
too.
Yeah. And now we're going to have a challenge on this call down at first base. Ed Yost throwing out the challenge. And from this angle, let's see. Looks like they got him. But again, the headset supplied to Ted Barrett, the first base umpire, and the third base umpire, this time Angel Hernandez over there. Call made by Ted Barrett, safe down there at first base. So that's the call that is being challenged by Ed Yost. And the crowd here getting an opportunity to see it on the big board. Chuck Morgan, of course, always with the all the angles that are available to him up there as quickly as possible. One more look from high above. I think they just barely got him out.
You can see Adrian trying to sneak to the back of the base. His whole arm is on the ground trying to stay underneath that tag. Very, very close.
And they're taking a long look at it back in New York. This is not cut and dried as far as they're concerned. And replay command center back in New York already issued one ruling tonight. And now they are going to issue another one momentarily. Rangers hoping that they'll get one more shot here in the 9th inning. And of course the Royals hoping that they can send it on to extras and see if they can win it there. But yeah, boy, it's been punch and counter punch tonight in this ball game. Ever since the 6th inning, Kansas City has taken the lead. The Rangers have answered. 3 different times that has been the case, including this 9th inning. Ted Barrett, the first base umpire, and crew chief there on your left.
The Royals have 24 players because of the suspension. Their bullpen is running out of guys. Pino pitched a lot last night. He might not be available. Jason Frazier is available. He threw over 30 pitches 2 nights ago. Franklin Morales pitched in last night's game. Those are the 3 guys left in their bullpen right now.
And out is the ruling. So it's overturned. Adrian Beltre caught off of first, and that's how the 9th inning concludes. But the Rangers do come up with a tying run on 2 hits. We are going to the 10th inning. Rangers 6, Royals 6. Presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky, all season long. Feed your wild side. Well, it has been wild out here at Globe Life Park. 6-6 the score. We head to the 10th inning, and Stormy Pimentel has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over. He becomes the 6th pitcher used tonight by Jeff Bannister. Pimentel appearing in his 8th ball game. No record, a 348 earned run average. 270 opponents hitting against him. He will face Alex Gordon, Salvador Perez, and Omar Infante. And there's a drive to right field. The first pitch of the 10th inning, and Alex Gordon leaves the ballpark with it. Stormy Pimentel threw a fastball. Gordon turned it around, and the Royals have a 7-6 lead.
Well, this game is just amazing. It just keeps going back and forth, back and forth. Sixth Royal to have at least one RBI in the game. Been a few too many pitches in this area of home plate.
Yeah.
Right near the middle of it. Buzz, I need to correct something I said. Johan Pino was sent down. Aaron Brooks was called up. So the Royals do have an extra guy in their bullpen. Sorry about that. Right into the corner. And the wedgie down there in right field.
Here's Salvador Perez, who's 1 for 4. He takes the Pimentel pitch high for 2 balls and no strike.
3 extra base hits for Gordon tonight. 2 doubles and a home run now.
And Perez shoots one to right field. Carlos Peguero, the new right fielder, makes the catch. And Jake Smolinski, that pitch run for Shin-Soo Choo, is in the ball game in left field. That forced Peguero to move over to right. Well, 1 gone. And Omar Infante coming up. Infante 0 for 3 tonight. He did have a sacrifice fly, accounting for his 14th RBI. Takes a strike from Pimentel. Infante, a .238 average. One ball and 1 strike. Royals now 7 runs on a dozen hits. Rangers 6 runs on 14 hits. Hit pretty well to left field. Smolinski retreating and makes the grab just before he gets to the warning track. That is out number 2. Now Pimentel will face Gerard Dyson. Stolmy wants a different baseball to work with. Dyson 0 for 4 tonight. Pop out, fly out, ground out, and strikeout. Chopped down foul. Looking forward to the bottom of the 10th inning. Carlos Corporan, who had pinch hit for Leonis Martin, the DH slot, will lead things off. He was at home plate when Adrian Beltre was caught off first. It'll be Corporan, Peguero, and Tommy Field. First 3 up for the Rangers. 1-1 to Dyson. Smolinski coming on. Time to get there and puts it away. That will do it. But Alex Gordon unties the ball game with the leadoff home run. We'll go to the bottom of the 10th inning. Rangers now find themselves trailing 7-6. 10th inning. And Greg Holland, who gave up the tying run in the ninth, got the blown save, and now trying to finish this one off and pick up a W. A vulture act. Carlos Corcoran was up there when the ninth inning ended. He will start off the bottom of the 10th by taking ball one. Corcoran, 195, switch hitter, batting lefty against the right-hander Holland. Two balls, no strikes. Carlos has reached safely by either a hit or a walk in 11 of his last 13 ball games. Would love to get him on base here to open up the 10th. Holland with the 2-1 pitch. Mike Carlos taking all the way, and it's 2-2.
Yeah. Boy, when you watch those from behind home plate at our angle, they look like they're right down the middle. That's actually right on the outside corner.
Got him swinging. Holland came back from being down on the count to get the strikeout. One away, and Carlos Peguero is next. First strikeout for Greg Holland tonight.
Yeah, that hard slider that he throws, it sometimes goes straight down, and if you can't see the spin on it, it looks like a splitter. He had a fastball out over the plate that he took, and then that last one was very, very tough to hit.
1 ball and no strikes. Peguero 0 for 4 tonight. He is lined out, popped out, grounded out, and reached on an error. Outside corner, 1-1. Fox tracker showing you that upper reaches of the strike zone. 2-1 now. Holland facing one of the hotter hitters in the month of May. Carlos tied for the American League lead for the month with 4 home runs. He was trying for 5, maybe 5.5 there. Two and 2. Call strike 3. Holland painting the outside corner.
Yep, making some good pitches, well located. Have to be right near the outside corner. Yep, there it is. Just barely touching the outside corner. Tough pitch.
Yeah, after you've seen all those sliders and he comes over the decent fastball located like that, makes it a little bit rough. No, the Rangers need a base runner at least. Here's Tommy Field taking strike 1. Field, a couple of hits tonight. He is 2 for 4. Pair of singles. Check swing, tapper out in front. Perez fires to first, and that will close it out. Tommy Field scampering down the line. Not quite quick enough to beat that strong throw from Perez. And the Royals come back to win this one tonight, 7-6 in 10 innings. So the series now is even at 1 game apiece. Rangers will try and get back on the winning track tomorrow night. Take a look at our TXU Energy Power Player of the Game, Alex Gordon. 3 for 5 tonight, a couple of doubles, and the game-winning home run leading off the top of the 10th inning. So 7-6, the final tonight in 10 innings. Dana Larson, Mark McLemore, and Freddie Rodriguez will be back to wrap things up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.